This episode of Off My Shelf contains coarse language and adult conversation. Listener discretion is advised. Hello, my name is Tracy James and welcome to Off My Shelf, a podcast about movies that are, well, off my shelf, where we go through my DVDs and talk about the movies in my collection. In this episode, Jamie Cochrane and Julian Chanco are here to talk about the critic-loved and audience-approved show, Arrested Development. Welcome!
Hi. Hi, Tracy.
You guys have a very collective, yay, we're here!
We are here. It's warm.
Uh-huh.
Which is very different from outside, and
Yeah.
it's nice to be here in this cozy apartment.
I could use some ice.
You could use some ice
to,
right
to cool me off.
See, I asked before I pressed record, and you're like, no, everything's good.
No, we're
everything's
good.
fine."
We're good. We're
Can't have a
good.
podcast
Ready to go.
without ice.
Is he a
That's-
bounty hunter?
That's
Is
the
he-
bounty hunter.
Who's he going after?
It's true.
He's good for doing it whatever he wants to do.
Exactly.
I think he catered this event, didn't he? Or...
He
This
did.
is lovely hummus.
Yeah. You know, homemade hummus, randomly cut up cheese and stuff. It's very
He went all
exciting.
out.
Yeah.
All
I
out.
did. I
Yeah.
tried. And I have leftover, cinnamon hearts there from Valentine's Day that my
Yeah,
husband
happy
people
Valentine's. Is this the Valentine's Day episode or?
No, the last one was.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the one that we did with Austin.
Oh,
and we did
okay.
those 2 episodes about, couples and stuff. So it's
Gotcha.
very
Right.
It's very
What was it? It was
Annie
Annie
Hall
Hall, okay,
and Away
right.
We Go.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice. If you haven't watched that yet, check it out.
Yes.
Plugging the last episode. You're welcome, Tracy.
Thank you. A plug within the show.
Exactly.
I like
Yeah.
it. I like it.
I
This is why you're here. This is why you're here.
That's-
That's
yes.
all I'm saying.
yes.
Well, I guess we can get on to talking about the show.
Yeah.
I mean-
Yeah. I think that's a good idea. I think we were all talking about, but I kind of was trying to put a pause on it about
Mhm.
how far we got into Arrested Development. We were asked to watch 3 seasons.
Yeah.
I was reminded that we were doing this podcast 2 weeks ago. And 3 seasons of Arrested Development is a lot of seasons. But
Yep.
I got through all of season 1, which I think is 26 episodes?
24.
24.
Yeah.
Maybe
if
you
I
watch
remember
2
correctly.
extra episodes somehow.
Plus about 6 episodes of season 2 in less than 2 weeks.
I
So-
got through season 1, 2, and up to episode 8 of season 3 in 4 days.
No.
Yes. What?
Tracy?
I literally
In
watched
4 days?
because I literally watched nothing else because I was like, crap.
But what do you
I have
mean
to
nothing
do
else?
this.
Did you go to your job? Like,
Yeah, I went to work.
how is that possible? That's a lot
I
of...
come home, turn on the TV, press play.
Yeah, I had 2 sick days this week, and I still got this
Oh,
one.
you're slacking then. Come on, it's
Yeah.
sick days.
I had a snow day too. I was like working on my computer. Show was on over here as well. You
Yeah.
know, got through
I
quite a
don't know,
bit.
Maybe I was trying to pay attention, absorb the information.
The funny thing is all my notes for this show. It starts off with little things, and then it just turns into how many celebrities I can spot within the show.
Yeah,
And it's
That's
just
fair.
it's just a list of
that's
celebrities.
I mean, I didn't take any notes. That is for sure.
I took
but-
quite well. I mean, it worked out to it's only 2 pages of notes.
Oh, that's not bad.
That's not too bad. I mean, when I did the Alien quadrilogy, I had like 7 pages of notes, so I don't
Wow,
know. It's
that
fine.
is- That's something.
I'm going to admit right now that I just learned about this podcast just a few hours ago. So I have not seen this for a while now. But
Okay.
it is one of my favorite shows.
Mhm.
I own the exact same DVD set.
I own those too.
Yes.
Watching those, watching with the commentary,
Mhm.
just absorbing it. It's part of my DNA now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really setting up a lofty sort of...
Yeah.
lofty
We
goal
need to
right
hear
here before we do
your
that, but-
deep analysis of everything. Then
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to do that.
we're
then.
just
So,
gonna open the floor to you. Go.
Go. Arrested
Deep analysis.
Development.
What does it mean?
It's not
What does it
just
mean?
a rap band.
Yes.
So that was the first mistake. Just Googling Arrested Development, first click on Wikipedia.
You're like, banned! You're like, no, that's not it. That's
But
not
then I was curious. I'm like, oh, I haven't heard these guys in a while either. So I looked them up. I should have spent like the 8 hours watching Arrested Development instead of watching the same music video over and over.
I mean,
again.
they're the ones who did like Mr. Windle and stuff, right? Mr. Wind. That's the song about like the homeless guy.
And they did Everyday People.
Yeah, so yeah, it's the same people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I know exactly there. It's fine.
Exactly.
I just needed like a refresh.
Yeah.
Just like the show.
Just like the show.
Yeah.
Arrested Development.
Feel like Ron Howard's gonna like step in next time. You're like, no, okay.
That'd be amazing though. Could you get him on there?
I'll see what I can do. I'll see what I can do.
work
Yeah.
on it,
And I'll get my people to call his people, and it'll be fine.
for sure.
Yeah.
Am I your people? Do I have to make that call?
Well, yeah. I mean, who else would do it? I don't know. Yeah.
You know Ron Howard. Right?
Oh, way back. Yeah, Ron and I.
Back at like Happy Days.
Him and I. Yes, those were happy days.
Yeah. So Arrested Development was one of those shows that was like, I believe the British The Office came out before this one, but it's the first, like, one of the early American documentary style comedy shows.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it was. It did come out before the. No.
Is it documentaries?
I don't know. Yeah, if I would
I don't
say it
even
like
know
that.
that I would define it as.
But it is
documentary.
There's literally episodes in it where for example, there's an episode where there's a car accident. Kitty tries to kill him.
Oh.
And they actually show like the camera crew on the
it's
ground
like,
and stuff, or
self-aware, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if it's like the same style as The Office. Like there's no one. It's not clear all the time that there's.
Well, they do have like the camera crew because they do those effects sometimes when they do flashbacks. Like they do footage not found. Like let's just say when George was talking about like when George was talking about like when he like had time with Job.
Oh, as
like,
a kid,
like as a
footage
kid,
not
like,
found.
Yeah, footage not found. Yeah, you would see the moving of cameramen and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But they really did relax on that as they went through.
Actually, I finally got
I
more
think it's the
into
opposite.
it.
I think those are the later seasons.
Yeah. Because
Having
like there's
just watched the first season.
yeah.
Because I've seen all the seasons, but it's been a while since I watched the later 2 seasons. I've watched them multiple times, but it's been a long time.
I realized I forgot. Like I remembered all of the plot points, but let me rephrase that. I remembered all the plot points, but I didn't remember the order of the plot. If you know what I mean.
That's very fair.
Yeah.
There's a lot happening.
There's so much happening.
Yeah.
It's such a long season. It's like the first season.
The first season I was just like, oh, all of this stuff happens in the first season of the show.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like it's a long first season.
Yeah, like that whole Julian Louis-Dreyfus thing. I thought that was like season 3.
No, I actually did too. When I was rewatching it, I was like, whoa, this is like,
This is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a great episode.
And she was fantastic.
Yeah. But if you don't remember, that's the episode where she is the blind lawyer.
Well, she pretended she was blind in order because it helped her through her law career throughout. So, which is brilliant in my if I could do my job pretending to be blind, I would.
You watch TV shows for a living. I don't think you can do that to be blind. What would that look like?
Well, someone would be telling me what's happening.
So they
I
would
would
do
do
your
the
job
notes,
for you?
and then they'd be like, "Why are you paying this guy when I could be doing this job?" Because I am doing the job, just whispering in his ear.
Yeah.
But then I would just scream.
I could have sworn like a few years, not a few years ago, more like 10, 15 years ago, they made like a prototype of like a TV that was like, you know those toys that have like the pins and you can stick your face in it and make shape and all that kind of stuff? They made like a TV that's like that, and like if you play a show, like the people's faces like pop out of it and all that kind of stuff.
That sounds like a nightmare.
This is your dream. What is this?
But it was done for like blind people, and they could put their hand to it or
and
whatever.
touch it.
And
I never
touch
heard
it.
about that. That's very interesting.
Or whatever.
Instead
But,
of
you know.
It sounds perverse.
Yeah,
it's weird, definitely. And
How
where
big
do
would
you
that be?
where do you draw the line on where they can touch?
it's TV. You can touch wherever you want.
Whoa.
And would they have different sizes,
Wow.
like 72-inch?
Yeah, you should pitch that to Netflix.
No, but if I remember, like, it wasn't a big TV. I think it's probably like 24 or something. Like, it wasn't a big TV, and they had made one. Like, it wasn't something that was like mass marketed or anything. Like, it was a practical use. It was kind of like a prototype idea thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
Okay.
I didn't hear much about it
interesting.
after because it probably was completely
Yeah.
impractical.
Yeah.
And
That frankly sounds like something fake from Arrested Development,
Yeah,
actually.
it does. Seem
Like, that
oh
doesn't
my
sound
god,
like
I'm
a
gonna
real
sit.
thing.
Well, the thing is, I
Like-
can't even remember what it's called, and you know, if I put in
It's
touchscreen TV,
it's
that's
like
not
the
what it's gonna come
the
up.
pins like ended up actually like hurting the people who were touching them, and it's just like George Michael Sr. who's got like all these inventions that just like harm people. You know?
The cornballer.
Yeah, the cornballer.
Everybody's just burning themselves
Yeah.
all over the place.
Never touch the cornball. But do touch this weird pin TV thing.
Yeah. But the thing that was, you know, like great. I've wanted to like rewatch like since like the newer seasons came out on Netflix, which I haven't gotten to yet. Like I have wanted to like go back and rewatch the older seasons before doing that, because it's just one of those shows. I was definitely like one of my favorite shows. There's few shows that just make me laugh out loud like so hard, and even rewatching it, like that same episode where Tobias like breaks into the apartment and she's pretending to be blind but not actually, and he like cartwheels over her, and like, I just like was laughing so hard out loud. It's just like it's so well written, it's so perfectly timed, and it's just
It
like,
is. It's awesome.
such a good show.
Sorry, I'm trying to. But apparently, blind people TV doesn't make it come up. It's
Okay.
fine. Okay, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It brings up a picture of Geordie LaForge. It's fine.
Okay.
Everything's good. We're gonna skip over that.
All right.
Anyways. But yeah, like I was rewatching the show and I was like killing myself still, laughing at all of it.
Me too.
And I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Like there were still like, you're just killing me scenes in this show, you know?
Yeah.
I must admit though, like the whole thing with Charlize Theron in the third season though, I was like,
Oh, really?
yeah.
I loved that.
I don't remember.
Because, okay, that's when she played a delightful British woman.
Yes.
Named one second.
Oh, okay, yes. And it
Rita
was like,
Leeds. Because Michael wanted to investigate some properties that they might, and he ends up in Wee Britain.
right, I remember now. Yeah.
And then he sees her, and he has no idea because he just thinks everything she's doing is like just how a charming British woman would act.
Yeah, she's adorable.
She's adorable,
Yeah.
and it's just there's just a clash of cultures. I have no idea, and she's very good looking, so I'm sure that helps like mask whatever she's up to.
Yes.
And so what I really liked about that was that's when I knew the writers stopped caring about crazy realism. Like they were relaxing on it already. Each season got sillier and sillier.
Yes.
And they started the third season immediately with crazy callbacks with the cabin and don't hop-offs off the cabin.
Yeah.
And then they moved into Wee Britain, where everyone drove on the wrong side of the street in the middle of California. The soup of the day was bread.
Yeah.
I remember reading up on it, like Rita, like the producers of Fox hated how Rita had hats on. They thought, oh, that's a silly thing. Why are we like ruining Charlize Theron? We have a great actress here. And then they totally cemented it in like the fourth episode. Like, don't forget your hat, Rita, before she goes and sees. They just wanted to give a big screw you to
the network.
To the
like,
network,
yeah.
like, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're a crazy show that doesn't make any sense anymore. Like,
And I think that's when they gave him like a raccoon hat or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then just like it's not PC anymore to say like, you know, why she had the mysterious Mr. F.
Mr. F.
But like when she saw that, they thought it was like a Bond supervillain, and then the way they were like playing off the episode where she looked devious, like she was up to something, and then her caretaker.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Oh, I forgot. Do I have his name? I don't even have his name written down. What's wrong with me?
Who can Google it the fastest?
I think she can. That he. Oh, none of them were British. That was a great part. First of all,
yeah, none of them were
She's
British.
from South Africa. It's Rob.
Yeah, he's Canadian.
Yeah, he's Canadian. Rob Thomas?
Is the name Rob Thomas? I don't know. It's taking a minute to click through the things.
So I haven't seen this show in a long time. Like,
it's Dave Thomas, the Wendy's guy. Dave Thomas.
I knew it was something famous, but like the less popular Canadian version of it. Now I used to love Matchbox 20 then, so that's why I was like immediately going to Rob Thomas.
Yes.
You know, like I'm all about that Santana smooth.
You know, other people are gonna hear you say that, right?
That's fine.
Okay.
Link me in. We'll talk about Supernatural.
Okay.
Not the show, but the hit late '90s CD.
Yes. Okay.
So then, so the fact that they really focus on them, and it just led to such crazy ideas. Like I don't know, I was amazed that they got a talent like Charlize Theron. Like I thought she was a super huge superstar.
She was a pretty decent star at that time.
Yeah. Like,
there's so many big stars on that show.
Well, that was one thing too about the show. Like they just got a bunch of people.
I mean, it's Ron Howard.
It is Ron Howard. I'm sure he flexed
he has
it a bit.
some huge connections there. And he's like executive producer or producer of some sort on that show.
Yeah, he also, I think he directed some episodes as well.
Yeah, so it's just like, I mean, that's his baby. He's got like tons of connections.
For sure. And I'm sure a lot of people watched it and were just amazed how, because it was different than anything that was on TV as well.
At the time.
So different.
So you wanted to just be a part of that, part of the history. And at that point also in the third season, that's when they started getting guest stars just for
the hell of it.
The hell of it, just puns. Like Judge Reinhold.
Yes.
And like William Hung.
Frankie Muniz shows up in an episode for no reason.
That's true.
Yeah.
And they did the tour to the Tunnel of Love.
Yeah.
Which used to be the Tunnel of like
the Tunnel to Hell?
Yeah, exactly.
They renamed
it. I loved how they got Scott Baio just to replace Henry Winkler, because that's exactly what happened in Happy Days. Just to skew younger.
Yeah.
Blah
blah blah.
Blah blah blah.
Yes.
Amazing.
Blah blah blah.
Blah 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 blah. Yeah. How many of us practiced for a long time just to be able to say that correctly?
Sure. If I ever get like a dog or a cat, I'm naming them blah blah blah.
But they're not gonna have a law blog.
They could. What's to stop them?
Blah blah blah's dog.
Law.
Blog.
Law blog. Dog blah blah.
Dog log blah.
It'll be amazing.
Yes. It'll be amazing. It'll be amazing. I love it. There's a random shot of Donovan Bailey on the cover of Newsweek too. Season 3.
What?
Random
What?
reference. I know. Well, because remember, there's a part in it where she's like, I was in the Olympics. And he's like, she was on the cover of like Newsweek or whatever. Like, no, that was this. And it shows Newsweek. And it's a picture of Donovan Bailey and he's like running. I tried to find that actual cover, but I don't think that was a real cover. I think that was like a manipulated like picture or whatever.
Because they were trying to say the Olympics, because she was a triathlete in the Olympics, got the gold. But she was really a triathlete at the Special Olympics.
No, she got the silver.
She got the silver.
She got the silver.
So they shouldn't have had Donovan Bailey. They should have Michael Johnson on it. The guy, the American runner who got... No, he was a 200-meter runner who got gold.
Was that... No, but that wasn't the point. That wasn't the point of the joke, though.
No.
The point of the joke was that, no, she was never on the cover of anything. That was the point.
That's true. That's true.
So I thought that was hilarious. I thought that was fun.
Yeah, I like how they just, like, cleverly, sneakily little things in there, you know, like they're subtle, like they're in the background, or just like something quick someone says, you know, that's like.
They also pay attention to detail.
Yeah, referencing like either a historic event or something.
Something like that. Yeah.
I watched, I think, last night or the night before. It's all blended together at this point. But it was like the episode where Michael meets George Michael's girlfriend, Anne. And
for like the 100th time.
They go to like Mexico and then they like forget Anne in Mexico. And then like the episodes, like they go from like Mexico to like something else happening, and then it's like George Michael Sr. who's like they think is dead, and then there's like the magic show
burial
thing, and then George Michael is like saying to his father, he's like his pop's in the attic, but then is like he's like, is that what you're calling making love? And that just shows me you're not ready.
Yes.
But then what's the aunt's name?
Which what?
You're talking about
the blonde lady.
Lindsay.
Yes.
He's like, I'm pretty sure like George Michael's hiding Anne in the attic. She's just suddenly just like, why does she think the Nazis after her or something? And it was just like so subtle, and then the like scene just switches over so quickly,
They're
and you
so fast.
just like as a viewer, you're just like. It's like this delayed, like, oh my god, did I just say that? But it's just so funny and it's so subtle. And when you rewatch it too, it's like you catch on to things that you're not necessarily
paying attention
to the first time around. And then you're like, oh my god.
Yeah. The little jokes that they throw in there,
yeah.
just like little zings and all that kind of stuff.
And they just work together so well as like actors, and they just like it's like one after another, and sometimes you can't even keep up with like everything they're saying, and it's just like subtle, and then sometimes it's very like, you know, almost slapstick humor, but then it's back to these like kind of more subtle
little jokes
that are
well, you had to throw in the slapstick because it would just be too cerebral after
for
that,
sure,
you know?
yeah.
And like I love cerebral humor, and I love puns and wordplays and innuendos and all that, but like seeing Tobias as Mrs. Featherbottom just crashing through a table is just the funniest thing in the world.
Yeah.
After.
Well, it's interesting because it's like Tobias and Buster are both like comic relief characters.
From a comedy, it's crazy.
I know. Like you have like two of them that are just like, you know, like absurd slapstick sort of humor, and like, and the rest of them are hilarious in their own right, but then you have these like very
they're supposed to be the normal people, and they're supposed to be the crazy ones,
but they're all crazy.
They're all crazy. Yeah. Which makes it fantastic.
Yeah. But Tobias, I just he's my favorite.
He's your favorite character?
I loved him.
Who's your favorite character?
Oh, that's a good question.
And Buster. I love Buster. He is too.
Oh, he's not.
Is my favorite character. I actually think it's maybe.
I think like if I was gonna,
I like Maybe.
I love Maybe too, but like she doesn't make me like break out laughing. If I found a character that was most relatable, I'd pick Maybe.
Okay.
But like break out laughing.
Wait, you think the character that tricked a production company to become a producer?
Right now?
Marry me.
I'm pretending to be like a lawyer in my job right now.
Oh God.
For a television network, I won't name yours.
Yes.
Okay.
But
I should have said your full name.
Now you're in trouble.
No.
Now you're in trouble. Wait, so what's your favorite character then?
I thought about this. I like Job. I like Job because
you're the same person.
Well, I am similar to Job. I don't treat anything seriously.
Yeah.
Okay. Any character that is part magician for some reason, I have an affinity towards. In anything. I don't know why.
What other characters are part magician?
I'm really afraid that there's like a dove in like your pocket somewhere that I should just be watching out for, just flying at me.
Where is there other part magician characters? Like, what are
anyone who thinks like magic is the
are these
cool
people?
things? Okay, like
There's
Barney
Howard and Big Bang Theory.
Okay, I don't really care
Come
for
on.
Howard.
Come on.
I'm sorry, it's my guilty pleasure, and I'm just gonna talk about it this time.
Well, I gotta watch it for.
Don't say it.
I gotta watch it because I love it. But
tune in.
So you love the illusions?
Okay, the fact that he calls them illusions
Yeah.
and the tricks are things
That's
that
my
women
favorite
do
part,
for money.
Yeah.
When that came by, like I didn't notice that. Yeah, that was one of those things, those subtle things that I didn't notice.
Oh, I love that part.
And then all of a sudden
Love
I
it.
realized that. It's just what else would like a rich playboy who has no discernible skills focus on? Being a magician.
His segue.
The segue. That was an amazing addition to it. Just having the segue. Just, and the fact he's always seems to be in sandals for some reason.
Yeah.
He just so happens to be.
The funniest scene with that segue, though, was when they were on the construction site and he comes to visit Michael. And he can't get over, like, this little hump of dirt and it's, like, 10 minutes. Just, like, trying to maneuver correctly. And he refuses to get off of it.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to do this on this segue. There's no walking involved.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. Yeah. It's great. It's absolutely fantastic.
But one of the things I appreciate about that show is that those characters are so solid that throughout the 3 seasons, he never like betrays that character. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's always true to that. It's like a lot of other shows, it's like after a couple seasons, it's like, now they're into this, or they've become like this, or suddenly they're addicted to drugs, and it's just like so ridiculous, but it's always, like, the show is ridiculous, but the characters are so true to themselves that you connect with it.
You're like,
multiple seasons.
Lindsay is a vapid rich girl who likes to go shopping. And that's what she continues to do throughout the whole show.
And I mean, I didn't watch the newer seasons, but I tried to watch the first episode or two, and I didn't connect to it in the same way. And I mean, there's a few differences to like the format and how it was. Everything, and also just maybe there was just not the same consistency with the characters, you know, like. I don't know.
I actually think the consistency was there. It had to do with the format of how they did the episodes, because it was season 4, right? Where each episode focused on the story of a specific person, and then to get some of the jokes, you had to watch 4 or 5 episodes. So then, by the time you got to the joke, it just died because you're just like, what? It didn't work. And that was one of the reasons why they had to go back and re-edit the show, which I still haven't watched. Which I think I probably will think the season is hilarious now if they edited it the same way they've edited the first 3 seasons. Yeah. But them, I know they tried to do it that way so that people don't have to worry about, watching it in order if you miss an episode, whatever. Yeah. But it just doesn't work. Like, the way the characters are, the way the show is.
Editing of the first 3 seasons is so like vital to what that show is. Like, it's just like, I don't know, like, how do you
it's like
go in a different direction? It's just like not true to the show.
Yeah.
Well, like, I do remember, like, in the DVD extra commentaries, they were talking about, like, they have no idea. They're filming this, the scripts make no sense until they see the final product. Like, no way, because and also, without hearing Ron Howard just weaving all of the scenes together, just alone, each scene, back to back to back, makes no sense.
Oh, okay.
So it purely is the editing and the little callbacks and the little, when I say callbacks, I mean like when they interject random scenes in the middle or whatever they have to do.
And then they always do the thing at the end, which is like on the next episode, which doesn't happen in the next episode. So it's just like so important to like understanding the series. But if you didn't hear that part, it's kind of like,
it's
what
lost.
the hell is happening in this show?
No, he was saying how this is totally a final product show. There's no way they could do it without everything being put together. Like, even in the editing room, it wasn't that funny. Until it's all together. Now, with Netflix, I thought, you have to see it as a whole, as a season. Like, it's a grand experiment that they tried, and I guess ultimately failed, because it isn't as funny. But, I respect it, the idea of what they did, because you're not supposed to see it, you're supposed to see it as 10, 12 episodes, I don't know what it is, as one giant piece of work.
That's so hard to do with a half-hour comedy, because you're tuning in to kind of be able to like kind of watch and then tune in later
No.
and like whatever. But then when you have to like be so invested to paying attention to the whole season and piecing it all together and not getting a laugh until the end is like, that's, you know.
Yeah,
It's true. Some of them were like a huge just build up to the very end of the last 3 episodes of that season, quote unquote. And I did watch the recut one.
Yeah.
It is a bit better, but it's just not the same because honestly, it's what makes the show great is the ensemble and having all of them on the screen.
They just
interacting
there's
together.
just like so
Yeah,
much
there
chemistry
wasn't in
together
there.
Exactly.
for these characters.
Which I get because they couldn't afford it at the time, and no one wanted to take the pay cut because everyone's careers skyrocketed.
Oh, for
after
sure.
this.
Yeah.
And so they couldn't afford getting them all together, so
Yeah.
they tried to do something and experimented a little bit with the whole Netflix sort of
format.
and I applaud them for that. But for sure, like the combination of seeing every person on the screen, like in Lucille's family room, just clapping, acting like jackasses and saying random things.
Yeah.
You miss that.
Yeah.
And you need that.
And you do need that.
You
do.
So vitally important.
That was a lot of the that chemistry is one of the things that made everything work. Like just
For
having
sure.
But like that 4th season was a lot of them on their own doing, like each person doing something on their by themselves, and you're just like, this is not.
Yeah, and they do that like a little bit throughout like the other seasons, but it's like within an episode, just like a short period of it, like doing like something on their own. But for the most part, it's like that builds up to something they do together, and that's where the final laugh is.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's like they like there's that episode where like Michael like checks out, you know, and he's like not involved with the family anymore, and then they all go off to do their own things, and like Buster gets enlisted in the army, and all these different things happen. You know, but like
a lot happens in 3 hours.
There's like so much happening, and it's just like, but they're all each kind of on their own having to deal with things. But then the final like the build up is when they're all in the hospital and they think their dad's dead, and like you know, they all like it's so ridiculous because they're all like, what am I saying? And like, you know, it's just like so absurd, but like it all builds up to that where they're together, and that's where all the laughs are, even though it's like this and almost tragic thing that's happened, but like that's where the like real laughs are.
The literal doctor kind of messed up.
Yeah.
Was it the he's gone? Was it that joke?
No, that was when
the previous one.
Okay, that was the previous
Tobias
one.
was blue.
No, that's he looks like he's dead.
Yeah, he looks like he's dead.
And then the other doctor, I don't remember what he said for.
No, he kept saying literal things like, "Oh, you have an infection, blah blah blah. We have to do another surgery." Then he'd come out of surgery. He's like, So you have this abscess now, but we also think we forgot something inside of you, so we're gonna have to do another surgery. So like he was straight, but he was a horrible doctor.
No, that was actually the replacement doctor that they had. They had the voice of Homer Simpson, Dave Castanella.
Oh, that's right.
Jump in because Michael did not want the literal doctor to, because he really hated
Glad
him.
you're here, Julian.
That's what
That's what you're here for. That's what you're here for. Yeah.
No, the literal doctor would do stuff like when Buster lost his hand, he's all right.
Oh yes,
and then
that guy.
He's missing his arm, his left hand. He's missing his left hand, so he's all right.
Yeah. Because he's like, I don't understand why you guys are so happy about this. He's lost his hand. He's like, but you said he was all right. And then Michael was like, what did he say? He's like, you really need to let him finish talking.
Okay, my favorite part, for some reason, with that little scene you're talking about in episode 201, was when
Sorry, what?
Yikes, Julian! How much Wikipedia did you read today?
I was busy at that bar before. You went to the bathroom. I just absorbed all of Wikipedia. So then it was, for some reason, Job called George Big Bear. Nothing's gonna stop that old bear.
Yeah.
And then, it wasn't George. Someone said that, and then Buster was like, hey, you know, we're calling him Bear, Big Bear. And he's like, he's not going to get the honey this time. Like, it was this random joke that had nothing to do with anything before, but they all just started playing off each other. Like, I'm sure it's ad-libbed at this point.
And
And they're like, And then Michael stepping in like, he didn't do any of that. Like, don't worry, none of that has to do. Okay, I don't think that's 201. I think that's the last episode of the second season, actually.
Yeah, I don't think that's
Okay.
201. Being on 205.
Oh, no, you're right. I apologize, because in the last episode of the second season is when Lindsay and Job were discussing about the bee business.
Oh, beads?
No, bees.
Beads?
Bees.
Bees.
I don't think he's on board.
Okay.
The bees. It was that joke, and then that led to the Big Bear. No, heart attack won't stop a Big Bear. That was the greatest.
That part with when she comes in with beads and he's like bees and it's like 10 minutes. It's just like one of those scenes where it's a little too long, then it gets longer, and then it gets funny again. You know what I mean? It's amazing.
I love those.
Yeah,
those are fantastic. Scenes that beat a dead horse, those are great, and they did it so well. They did jokes like that so well.
Yeah.
Like
timing's always really good, and like the build up, they're just like
one joke they did was they pretended they did that when George Michael was filming, he filmed for he was running for class president.
Oh, his like sword.
Well, that was on the same tape.
Oh, the him like turning off the lights.
Yeah.
They did the ad on the tape.
Mm-hmm.
And then it cut to that because they couldn't find another tape.
Yeah.
And then throughout the rest of the series, every time they played anything on a video cassette,
it cut to
that would cut to it, and they would be like over and over again. Like we've seen this joke over and over again, but like it's still funny.
Yeah, it's still funny.
Every time it happens, you're just like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And I even said near the end, like, why can't we just get another tape? They're not that hard to do. Like,
it's just that nobody thinks about it until they need one, and they're just like, well, we have this one, and done, right? That's it. They're hilarious, though. I find it, I don't even know how they came up with even the storylines for some of these episodes.
Yeah, I mean, the concept itself of the show.
Yeah.
Like, what are you pitching exactly there?
You're like, it's a family of assholes.
Rich assholes.
And
people
that
love that.
That aren't relatable.
Yeah.
Well, they even pointed that out.
Yeah.
They tried to be more relatable in the third season during the Save Our Blutes episode.
Yeah.
SOBs. They're like, we gotta play more believable, quote unquote. They would drop lines like that because they were trying to literally save the show to the audience at the point. And then even what's his face? Ron Howard would say, please tell your friends to watch Arrested Development. They just went all in and just said that over the air.
Yeah.
And at that point, they were joking around, like, maybe we're going to move to the Home Buyers Association. I mean, Home Buyers Ownership. Oh, you mean HBO? Yeah. We might move to HBO. This was during the time when they were like... Oh,
they were negotiating.
Yeah, they're
trying to find money.
And they were just like... Oh, like they made jokes like that all over the third season.
Yeah.
Like
there was even like there's a whole thing about Carl Weathers eating at Burger King all the time.
Yes.
There was that one too, and I was just like, what? Oh, I get the joke. You're great. I like it. This is awesome.
They even made things. They're just like, we were gonna make 24 houses, but we had to cut it down to 18.
Yeah.
Making jokes about
the episode.
Yeah, and then like even during the time they're like, well, maybe we're not relatable. Maybe this is what it's supposed to be. No, we could figure this out. And they're just, I love that tongue. Like they stopped caring and they just did whatever was funny and worked for the show. And
it did work for the show.
Yeah,
like
and that's why we love it.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I think critics like it. People, just general public people like it. I don't think anybody who's the butt of the joke liked it. They're like, we see what you did that we don't like this. But other than that, I think everything's great about it.
What's your favorite episode?
So, I got to episode 8 of season 3. I think my favorite episode is in season 2. Actually, one of my favorite things that happens in the show was when they have the funeral for George Sr. They do at the end of it, and they do the spin around, and Job falls out into the grave.
That is honestly one of my favorites too.
I laughed so hard at that joke. It was ridiculous. Yeah. Like it was. Oh my god, it was so ridiculous.
That was 204. Good grief. Okay, that also is one of my favorite episodes. My favorite part was the audio cue of whenever someone got sad.
The Snoopy.
They played the Snoopy song, and then someone would just sulkily walk out.
And then there was like a doghouse with just like a red music. Okay, that wasn't ours. That was the garbage.
Yeah, that's
for me, like the best part of that was when George Michael's like walking by and there's like a doghouse and then there's just like a German Shepherd or something, or a golden retriever just like lying on top of the dog.
That was actually the first time they did that gag.
They did it again?
No, that was the first time that they did the music and
Ah.
everything, where he's walking away. That was the first time, and the dog was on top of like the Snoopy doghouse.
Yeah.
And it was great. And then from that point on, it just showed up like that specific episode. It showed up like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
And then it just would randomly show up on other episodes, and it was great.
And Michael's just like, "Oh, you broke up with her? Well, she wasn't right for us."
Okay. Anne was one of my favorite jokes.
Oh
of
yeah.
the whole series.
What is she funny?
Yeah.
They called her even a bad-looking girl. Like it's just
so
like...
these are the names that she's been called. Of course, it's her. Of course.
Yes, of course.
Then she called her egg, plant, and hog, yam, and Annette.
Annette.
And I was just like,
even
what?
George Michael at one point was like, "Way to plant." In Mexico.
And that's when, Michael calls her Plant.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, Plant. No.
I remember, the joke with Anhog. Okay, wait. There were a lot of good, just throwaway jokes in the middle of all these egg things.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, there's Anne just eating an egg. You know, she would put a little mayonnaise on it and eat the whole thing.
No, she puts the mayonnaise in her mouth.
Oh, in her mouth.
And then
eat
the
the
egg.
whole thing.
Yes.
And then Michael eventually is like,
we'll call her egg.
Yeah, well, he just was like, just.
He doesn't even notice what she's doing.
Doesn't know.
He doesn't even like factor in what she's actually doing.
And then my favorite part is George Michael said, "Oh, I want to get her some diamonds," and then Michael's like, "Oh, don't get her all dolled up for Easter." After calling her egg, they just threw that in there.
I missed that one.
It just happened so subtly.
Yeah, it's
and then they just
it's
moved
so
on.
subtle.
And
Yeah.
no one even talked about it.
Nobody
ever
sticks
again.
at it, and it's just.
I
great.
remember first hearing that, and I just had to stop. I had to stop and watch.
No, I love that. I love the repeat jokes. It's like each character is and then George Senior is just at the end just so she must be really funny or whatever, they just throw it in. It's like every character has said something about this throughout very subtly, and then she's like, "Oh, she must be funny."
Duh. Why else would he like her?
Yeah.
And the funny thing is that she dumps him in the end, and I was like, oh, that's hilarious.
And then she became third in an inner beauty pageant.
Yes. So good.
Maybe
the
it was
things to come
first,
up
right?
with was ridiculous.
It was. Oh yeah, it was.
They gave it to maybe it was in the
prosthetics.
wheelchair.
She had the nose that Nicole Kidman had from The Hour.
Shirley, right?
Huh?
Yes,
Yeah.
Shirley. Oh, the opposite of maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, Shirley.
Yeah. And that scene was
maybe.
weird too, because when they did the flashback of where the nose came from, Jamie Kennedy bought her the nose, and I was like,
Yeah.
"What?"
Yeah, they just threw him in there.
Boom, there you go. There's a thing. Cost him $10,000. It's fine.
There we go.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love how they had Bob Einstein there, Super Dave, to be the surrogate,
of George Senior.
of George Senior. It was the most ridiculous concept ever.
Yeah.
Just a guy with a mouthpiece and a
And a
camera
hat.
and a hat for George Senior because he just didn't want to be there.
My favorite part of that is when George fires him and he's arguing with himself in the mirror. Because he's saying everything George says, then he's got to argue with that. And I'm just like, oh my god. And they just walk away. And I think Michael and Lucille are having another discussion over here, but you can still hear him in the background arguing with himself. It's like, you guys are great. You guys are amazing. I love it.
And I guess he's like, I got time from Curb Your Enthusiasm. Let's
do this.
I'll just do this. Yeah, it could be just like Johnny Depp and just take the lines right in his ear too.
Exactly.
Jason Bateman looks so fucking young on this. Holy
so,
fuck.
yeah. The when I watched the first
Even
episode,
between season.
they all look so young.
All of
Look
them.
between even season 1 and season 3. Like, fuck. He's like another man.
Yeah, look at George Michael.
Well, for sure, but he was a kid, right? I mean, he was already an adult. And now, like, Jason Bateman now, he's like an old man. But still, like, attractive.
But still attractive.
I'd still, get in there.
Like Michael Cera, those first couple episodes and stuff.
Yeah, he's a baby.
Well, we can just go through the 3 seasons. So, because
It'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
Back
It'll be
to
fine.
season 1.
Yeah. I mean, like, so the thing is with these seasons, they progressively get shorter and, like, drastically shorter every season. And, like, it blew my mind, as we mentioned before, how long the first season is compared to the 3rd season. And then by the time it gets to Netflix, I think it's like 10 episodes a season or something like that.
Yeah, for sure. Because the first season, like back in the day, back in network television, like, you had to have a certain amount of episodes.
It's just 22 episodes the first season.
Yeah, like, that's just how long seasons were, because they didn't have 3 seasons of stuff. They only had 2. Like, most of the year, like, from September on, and then whatever short rerun thing in the summer.
No, they always had the fall break, because it's over that Christmas holiday. It was like
they do that,
3 weeks, and then it'd come back like to like hoopla, like, oh my god, we're returning.
Yeah.
And then during the summer it was like a month and a half, 2 months you were off, but then everything was on TV.
I don't think network television's changed any. I think it's still pretty much the same.
Is it? No, I don't even think that's that
shorter.
much.
No, we have shows that are done by like March.
Yeah,
for sure.
By January,
but
like,
not
new
but
seasons, not comedies.
No,
I
bring
think
in a
so.
new comedy.
They bring in because they have the what is it called in fall, where they have like the fall preview.
Yeah.
And they have like it's like 4 weeks or 6 weeks where it's just all new stuff, like new,
for sure,
all new shows, and like 90% of them get canceled, and then the old stuff comes back.
For sure.
You're good.
But the old stuff comes back, and those seasons are long, and they stretch throughout the whole season.
There's lots of breaks, though.
There are breaks, yeah. Don't get me wrong, for sure. But I'm saying they return after the breaks. That's all I'm saying. It's like the same. Like there's always been those breaks, and there's still those breaks.
But I still think those seasons are still a lot shorter than they used to be.
I think so.
Yeah.
No, they are. Except for very network sort of stalwarts, like Big Bang, like they have a lot. Or things like that. Like Goldbergs or whatever. Like, but this has a storyline that goes...
This is a tough one. Yeah, this isn't... I mean, it's more like The Office. They kind of run in order a little bit more. Like,
because there's definitely like a certain point where you get to an episode and you're just like, shit, I have to watch the previous 2 to understand what's happening here.
Oh, 100%. This show, it rewarded loyal viewers.
Oh,
Which I love.
Yeah.
Because that's how I eat up a show.
Yeah.
I am one to like a show than just...
Well, because it's more intelligent.
Well, that's true. And just, like... all the callbacks, all the beyond the show jokes, like I said before, like when they replaced Henry Winkler with Scott Baio, that's a recall to their old show of Happy Days, and stuff like that. Like just the more invested you are in the show.
But it's
the funny thing is until you mentioned that earlier, I didn't even realize the connection between this and Happy Days. In reference to that. Yeah. Like it just didn't trigger anything, but as soon as you said it, was like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
I mean there's a lot of subtle things in the show that I think rewards someone that sticks around, and also like there's like an intelligence to this show that maybe like I don't know, some other comedies lack. Which is why it has such a strong cult following.
Yeah. But I think like calling back to like the callbacks to Happy Days. Yeah. Because don't they actually physically jump the shark shark in Arrested Development as well at some point?
Yes.
Yeah, it's not within these three seasons, but it's... Is it season 4, season 5?
No, it's like season 3, I think.
Yeah.
Is it? Oh, I didn't get that far. Damn it!
Later. I didn't either, but I remember it, so I know it's not in the new season.
Henry Winkler legitimately jumps over a shark, and they make sure you see it. He like jumps over it, like, okay, and then like, you know what I mean? Like they make sure you know he did that.
Yeah.
Like maybe as like a passive, you're like, what was that? Like you don't even register it, but like it happens. Yeah.
I remember the first time I saw that part, and I was just like, he jumped the shark. I get it. But a lot of people don't even understand where that idiom comes from, and the fact that if you know where that idiom comes from, then you see Harry Winkler do it in the show. It's just like level on level on level.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
For sure. I love those. I love callbacks. Like they had callbacks to like I remember when they I think it was the second season when Michael, they were looking up a secret sister that Michael might have had, a Nellie. And they actually, it ended up being the actor. Oh,
that's in season 3.
That's in season 3?
Yeah, and it's Justine Bateman shows up.
Justine Bateman,
Yes. And it's his actual sister in real life, but they're dating on the show.
Yeah, so they bring it up, and it's like, oh, I just know you so well. It's like we've like known each other all of our lives. Like they would do those little things, and then finally, when he actually like talks about, he doesn't know she's a hooker either.
Yes.
Like she doesn't know she's a call girl.
Yeah.
He just assumes she's the mysterious Nellie that signed it. And then when they finally like reveal it, they're like, "Ooh, you're like my brother? Gross!" Like she would say that. Like I love that, and you have to know the show. You have to know the actors.
Yeah, you have to know their history to get some of the jokes as well, and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so good. I know those.
It's great.
Those little things, like just.
Yeah.
Actually, the funny thing, after we record this, I probably will still finish season 3. Just
I'm gonna finish.
I have done it.
I've been wanting to do that for probably like the last 5 or 6 years. I've been wanting to like rewatch it, but like I know once I start, I'm not gonna be able to stop. And there's so many other TV shows out there that I haven't watched, and then like, and it's like, but this like pushed me to like start rewatching them, and I'm like, oh, I want to rewatch those episodes because I kind of forgot about that that you're talking about, and I'm like, I want to go back because this show for me was like just one of the laugh out loud funny. I remember watching it like I was, I guess, in university when it came out, and like watching it while I was at work. I like had a late night job because I was in university, but then I was working as a janitor, and there was like this cafeteria type area that I'd go to have like dinner, like an early dinner at by myself because there's no one else there because I worked like a late shift. So I'd be in the cafeteria by myself, and there was the TV, and I'd watch Arrested Development. Yeah. And I would just like sit there like laughing so loud that it was like echoing down like the hallway.
The empty hallway.
Just, like, I just found it so funny, and there's so few shows that make me laugh like outwardly like that. So
side note, I'm like, this is the first time I ever heard that you were a janitor in university, which
let me tell you,
I find interesting.
I was a janitor.
But like, I'm always curious, especially people who get to be in places that are like usually have lots of people in it, but then are devoid of people.
Yeah, those are my favorite.
What is the weirdest thing or the most interesting thing that happened while you were doing that?
So I was a janitor, like summer student janitor at Transit in their like head office building. So it's like before I've ever worked in an office before. And now I've worked in an office for like 12 years. Yeah. So like, whatever, everyday stuff. But that was like my first introduction to like office working. And I was responsible for like cleaning the offices, emptying garbage cans, like whatever. But I'd be there late at night. So, like, I would start at, like, 4 p.m. and have that overlap with people who worked there for about an hour. Then they would go home. And then I had the offices to myself. So, like, 11:30 at night. I remember this man who had his own office. He was like either a manager or a director or whatever, and he would work late. And one day, like, he wore like nice suit, tie every day, like, you know, like he made money, like he's a government worker. I got paid good money to be this summer student, so like he probably made a lot of money. But like one night I was working and it was later in the evening and I went to like clean like a bathroom or whatever, that's what I did. And I went back to go into like my janitor closet and he was stealing toilet paper or like paper towel or something from, I feel like it was toilet paper from like the janitor's like closet. So like, and he's like wearing like a suit and a tie and he had his own office. Like he was just like a well put together man, and then he's like stealing toilet paper, and then he was like, he made up some weird excuse about why he was in my like closet, you know? And it's just like so awkward, but I was like, okay, well, you can't take that stuff. Like, you know, like,
he's a regular Carl Weathers.
He was that is very accurate. That is very accurate.
Well, at least you don't have to work in the banana stand, so it's fine.
Well, there's always money in the banana stand.
There's always money.
Unless you set it on
fire. Until you
fire.
burn it down.
Just letting you know.
Yeah, that's probably the only job I haven't had is working in a banana stand. That could be next.
Can I just say one of my favorite jokes in this show is when Michael, Job was asking for the Job, which is two sticks, two bananas,
double dip, and double the nuts.
Double the nuts. Yeah. Michael goes, double sticks, double nuts. What is this, Mardi Gras? I couldn't stop. I'm like, it's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite jokes.
Actually, one of my favorite jokes is actually a visual gag, because there's the episode where George Michael, he's in the banana stand in the banana suit.
Yeah.
No, or is it Job? But he takes off a layer.
That's
and
Job.
so it's Job, sorry. And he throws like the banana peel outside. And then Lucille comes with the car and the car starts sliding. It can't stop because of the banana peel. And I was like, that is such a hilarious, subtle reference. Well, it's not even that subtle, but like
it's so overt.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Like, it's a crazy shot that they did. That we all know everyone slips banana peels. So they've been building that up for like a season and a half before. That was the Afternoon Delight episode, which is one of my favorite episodes.
That's a good one too.
I love how in that episode they all realize what the song is.
Yeah. They're like, the tune it's so like innocent and light, but I didn't realize the lyrics were so graphic.
And then they keep doing it within like familial pairs.
Yes.
And then which leads to the incest jokes, which are hilarious. I'm sorry. Like this show leaned in on incest jokes, which
real hard.
Which is great because they don't do that anywhere else. And they've done it so many different ways with the obvious being George Michael and maybe. Yeah,
but then there's maybe and Steve Holt because she's trying to get away from George Michael. And then they're like, no, like, because apparently George Michael and maybe aren't technically cousins, but, her and Steve Holt really are cousins, and, like, it's a whole thing, and...
Okay, that leads to another, one of my favorite throwaway jokes.
Yeah.
George Michael was figuring that out. He was trying to figure out whether maybe it was his biological cousin. Mm-hmm. So then he asks Job one time, "Oh, do you remember when Aunt Lindsay was pregnant?" And he's like, yeah, dozens of times. Then he kind of walks by, and they don't mention it. They just move on.
Yeah, I remember that one. I totally remember because I missed half the episode laughing at them because I don't think I ever picked up on that one before. So that is awful. It's awful,
It's
but
an awful
hilarious
joke, I
at
know.
the same time.
Another awful but hilarious joke I remember. Now I'm just saying jokes that I remember. Was when Michael was asking Tobias about his marriage problems with Lindsay.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, hey, so how's the marriage going? Tobias says, well, like, we're working out, but then 9/11 happened and that didn't help. And then he moves on about, and they just drop a 9/11 joke and just keep going.
Yeah.
Moving past it.
What?
And no one gave a shot of no one touched it.
No,
Yeah.
nobody touched it. But it was just this tiny little, like, we understand, you know, like, it's a thing that happened.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Yeah.
And I forget what it was, but one of the episodes I watched recently with, like, Tobias, he, like, says, because he always says everything out of context, but he says, like, blow me, and then, like, but, like, Michael's in the hospital, and they think Tobias is dead, and Lindsay's like, what were his last words? And he's like,
I just
it was
blew myself.
I just blew myself. That's what it was,
Yeah,
I
because
just
he
blew
stops and
myself.
he just thinks for a second.
He's like, something really, it was very sweet. And then it was just like, I blew myself. And then they think he's dead. But.
Yeah.
I loved in the second season whenever he painted himself blue because he wanted to be part of the Blue Man Group, which how they got into that was hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah,
just
because he's a blue man.
Yeah, he was
a blue
depressed.
man.
He wanted to meet
other depressed men.
other blue people.
Yeah.
He got across, and then the whole season you would see just marks of blue all over the house.
Just like subtly in the background.
Tell you the truth, it actually goes into season 3.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, in certain scenes you'll still see blue hand marks.
It's amazing
it's
how
hilarious.
They just build and continue.
And but that's the thing in season 3 as well. He goes. He's trying to become a therapist again, or a analrapist again, and he goes to a group of blue men, and it's actually like a group of like a therapy session, but he's painted himself blue, and he gets up behind like the podium, and he's just like, I've just made an ass of myself or something, and he just like walks
I've made
away.
a huge mistake.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, I like the fact that they brought him like that confusion of blue men back around, but in completely opposite way, you know. And they don't like the show doesn't forget things like that.
No,
it doesn't
like even
forget.
These like run-on jokes just like go on through all the seasons, which is like I don't know that there's any comedy that's like kept that up in like a successful way. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, so
or like a whole like I've made a huge mistake thing, which is like
just
running
kept
on.
going.
Good.
It's running on through all of the seasons, and it's always like dead on each time. It's just like so funny. It's just like and each character does it, and it's just like
So talking about like random like callbacks to stuff, right? So we were talking about the Snoopy music before, and the first time it happens, you actually like see the Snoopy in the background and the blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And then there's a whole bunch of sequences.
Was that
where
the
happened.
blah 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 or the blah blah? Sorry. Go on.
So there's a scene where George Sr. in Mexico gets bad news and he walks away, and there's a Snoopy music.
Yes.
But on the wall in the background, hold on, is written a number. It says P2252, right? And I'm like, that has to be a reference to something. So I start Googling and searching everything, and I find an interview with, of course I didn't write down who the interview was with, but it was one of the showrunners at the time. And the guy was just like, seriously, that number meant nothing. Like, it means absolutely nothing.
Screw you, showrunner.
Right?
It gotta mean something.
So, but the thing is, what they did is the fact that fans and stuff kept asking, like, what does that mean? What is this reference to? People
Everyone
kept looking for
was
this
like,
reference. So what they did was, when season 3 came back, they made that number the code to his ankle bracelet. Oh. So then it could mean something. But people are just like, oh, they planned this all along. They didn't. It was just like, People want it to mean something, so we made it mean something.
Yeah.
That's all it was.
That's awesome. That's
and I thought that was hilarious. You know, I thought that was great because some set designer was just like, you know, let's spray paint some stuff on a wall and.
I mean, too, like the first season of this, I don't know what year was that came out, but like the internet was still like, not that it was like early internet, but like the whole like social networking, people communicating as fans on the internet was pretty early. It's pretty early in that sort of
in that whole thing
where it's like you can start to like actually interact with your fans in a way that you couldn't before, and people were starting. You know, like Facebook, I think, came out around that time. And
no, Facebook came out for mass consumption, came out 2006, 2007.
Okay, I have no point then.
Yeah.
How were they communicating these things? It's like a conspiracy.
No, but they had message boards.
Yeah,
they had,
for sure.
You
but
know,
I mean, there was like,
I
mean, there's like those groups
there.
and stuff where, I mean, even where, what was it like, that movie, Blair Witch, like, you know, that was like way before even this, where it was like the first like internet kind of like sensation where people were going on all these boards. That
ruined a trip for me and my friends. I was really pissed off about it.
Were you going to that forest where it was shot?
No, we weren't going to that forest. Me and my friends, we had like...
ruined it!
We had planned it, like we were going to go camping, right?
Okay, yeah, that
we wanted to go out for a weekend.
Yeah.
And then... like, because it became such a viral sensation before viral sensations was a thing, even my parents knew about it.
Yeah.
They didn't even realize it was a movie. They didn't even realize whatever. They're just like, did you
we
hear
don't
about
know
these children, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And they're like, you can't go on this trip because people are disappearing. And I was just like, what the? It's a movie. What's wrong with you? Yeah, we had to cancel everything. We were just like, we bought tents, we bought sleeping bags, we bought... food and all that kind of stuff, and we're just like, then we just had a barbecue at somebody's house. It was fine, but
Tracy,
still.
I think it worked out for you. I love barbecues.
Barbecues are delicious.
Yeah.
But
no,
it was still
for sure.
frustrating.
But that was when the internet was kind of doing this thing with like television and film that never happened before.
It was an early experiment.
Like this, like where you were able to comment on things and make it go viral in a way that made it seem more real than ever before. And the Blair Witch thing, I remember that that summer, you know, my brother talking about it because he was definitely more on the internet than I was because he was older than me, and you know, and like telling me about this thing, and like like, you know, was creeped out by it, you know, like we were like, we spent our entire summer at the cottage, you know, which is like when you don't want to hear about how there's like witches that are like, you know,
and if you see like these little stick figures run away.
I slept in a trailer every night in the middle of the wilderness, so it was just like, that's him. Really real to me. So I remember that, and around this time too, which I was a little bit older and in university at this time, but definitely like, you know, I think the internet played a big part in that, and this was very early on in those days, prior to Facebook, which some of your listeners may not even remember.
That is absolutely true.
I definitely work with some people that wouldn't remember those days. That pre-Facebook days.
Yeah, I was actually talking to one of my coworkers today, and she's like, I learned how to read with reading the Harry Potter books, and I'm just like, thanks for making me feel old.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Because I was working in a university when like those books were coming out, and I was just like, fucking hell. Yeah. Jesus. How young are you?
She couldn't read anything else? Just Harry Potter?
Well,
she jumped right into that? Like, she didn't read, like, you know, Dr. Seuss or something?
Well, I'm assuming it was one of those things where it's like, that was like her, you know, 6th grade level. We're going to read this now.
Yeah. But yeah, I think, like, when you're talking about older shows like this, it's like, it's an important puzzle piece to discuss, like, that social aspect where shows today, like a new show like Game of Thrones, like it's just like there's a Wikipedia page, like there's an Arrested Development page now that Julian can reference, but like at that time it didn't exist.
Wikipedia
like,
didn't
you know what I mean?
exist at that
Like
time,
it's not like you could go online at that time and know these subtle things, or you know.
Oh, I'm sure that this was the only way to have a community to talk about Arrested Development. Because I knew when this came out, none of my friends or family watched this.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think at that time in my life, TV was almost like made me unique. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I watched TV shows that other people didn't watch, and that was what was unique about me. And like, as an adult, there's no such thing. Like, there's no such thing. Everybody watches the same thing that I watch. Like, you know what I mean? But like at that time, like, I didn't have friends that were watching Arrested Development.
No, I had no one to talk to.
I didn't have anybody.
Jokes.
I was alone in a cafeteria watching this show, laughing my ass off as a janitor. Yeah. My life is very different than the life I live today.
That you were living at the time.
But I wish I was living that life again. It was amazing. Like, that was, how...
Empty rooms laughing out loud.
Yeah. And now I eat lunch at a desk and watch Temptation. And that's my life.
That sounds pretty similar.
It's all gone in a full circle. And I make a lot more money than I did.
Which is probably the upside to all of it.
The upside. But I don't feel unique. I don't know. There was something about this show that I didn't know anybody else that was like, or at least as into it as I was, or cared about it. And I kind of felt like it was my thing.
Yeah.
It's a unique show, and I remember trying to get my friends into it. And you would start with, I didn't know what episodes to start with. There's always ones that are probably good to start off. So I tried with the first episode. I remember at like a party I put it on.
I think this is a show where you have to start with the first episode, or else you don't understand the dynamics.
100%. But they already were dropping 2 incest stories in the first episode. They were.
Were they?
Is that offensive for the friends?
No,
well, they talked about Maybe and George Michael. Yeah. What was the other one?
Already at this point, Buster was in love with Lucille.
Lucille
that's
too?
Not incest.
No,
wow,
Lucille.
The mother.
What?
Yes.
The mother.
That's a weird.
I don't know that
Oedipus complex thing.
Yeah.
But that's not.
I don't think that's incest.
That's not incest. That's just like a weird mama's boy weirdness.
All right,
obsession.
Yeah. I get it though.
Like, it was
I mean, you like your friends are like, well, what is that? I guess
they're just like, they didn't like listen to the subtleties.
Yeah, it's not comedy to them. Like,
yeah, it wasn't, because nothing is overt. Like, the best jokes are these subtle jokes that are thrown in.
Yeah.
Like, I remember the first time they laughed was in the very first episode when Tobias, who was dressed like a pirate.
Yeah.
Because he is that comic relief, like,
exactly.
like slapstick, like, like, anyone's gonna laugh at that.
And that was, like, the payoff at that. But there was a whole setup. There was a huge setup for that. And which I love in this show. It was one of the best shows, I think, that sets it all up with storylines that seemingly have nothing to do with each other.
Yeah.
And then it all comes together in the end.
For sure.
Like, one episode, I remember, I think it's in the 3rd season. I guess I don't remember it very well.
That's fair.
It was one where the climax of it was Tobias dressed as a mole.
That's 3rd season, yes.
Destroying houses from far away.
But there was actually
right at the time as Japanese investors were inspecting the house. They were trying to trick Japanese investors, and they did it because they put it far away. But then Tobias came in dressed like a mole and destroyed it like Godzilla.
So I'm going to clarify that. So this was like, I think this is episode 6 of season 3, if I remember correctly, because this is one of the episodes I watched yesterday.
Okay.
So it's like 6 or something like that, 5 or 6. And so what happened was Japanese investors were coming, but technically they weren't allowed to sell any property or anything like that.
Yeah.
And there was a whole thing about Michael trying to get a gift for George Michael, and
we got the train set.
And he got the train set. Yeah. That was the houses that were quote unquote in the distance. Yeah. Right? And then there was a thing that George Sr. ordered that was like a jetpack or whatever.
Yeah.
But the gifts got switched, right?
Because George Michael wanted the train set, but they just wanted something fun.
Yeah.
Like someone, but someone told Michael, "Oh, we probably should get him something fun."
Yes.
And so they
It
got
was the girlfriend. It was
the girlfriend,
what's her face? Yes.
Yeah.
Charlize Theron's character or whatever. Get him something
yes,
fun.
Yes.
Because I think for his birthday he gave him like a suit and like tax software or something.
Yeah.
And he's like, "This is amazing." It's like, "No, we're gonna get you something fun." But the thing is, Job got the train set and George Michael got the jetpack.
Oh, and
instead.
And Steve Holt, who was trying to build up a father-son relationship with Job, thought they should put it together. But at that time, Job thought he was supposed to put it together with his own dad, with George.
Yeah. And then the thing is, but the George who was using the surrogate at the time was actually Buster.
Yeah.
There was the thing is if you explain these episodes to people, they're like, that doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any
But
sense.
how they put the stories together in the actual show, you're just like, this is genius. Like, this is amazing.
They were trying to figure out who the mole was
throughout the
episode, and then Tobias is wearing the mole costume.
Because Tobias thought that so the CIA recruited Tobias to be the mole, but Tobias thought it was an audition and he had to be a mole and got a costume. And the thing is when he comes over, starts just drawing this city in front of like these Japanese investors like he's Godzilla. George Michael comes in, he finally gets the jetpack working, flies in and takes down the mole. And you're just like, what is going on?
I remember when I saw that the first time, I'm like, this is the craziest show on TV.
It really is.
Because it was on regular TV.
Yeah.
It was.
And this was in the middle of the height of like Survivor and stuff.
Yeah.
Or just like one camera sitcoms where it was just like basic laugh track and all that kind of stuff. And then you had this where you're just like, oh, I have to think while I'm watching this and I actually have to pay attention.
Yeah.
And it was just so tightly written, so witty. Even when it got absolutely ridiculous, it was fantastic.
It is from beginning to end.
From beginning to end.
Yeah.
One thing I have to, now that I'm looking at these DVD sets, if you have a DVD player still, and seem to have...
I have like a PS3
that should work.
plays it, but I'm missing like the HDMI cord to plug it into my
That's a
TV.
problem.
That's a big problem.
Stepped on it, I think.
But then I absolutely recommend the audio commentaries.
But it's all... Oh, I guess they don't have that on Netflix.
No, they don't. The thing is, the audio
I also don't have legitimate DVDs, I don't think. I think mine are burned.
Oh, no.
I
must have...
I need to double check that, actually.
Okay.
Because I remember my brother gave me all of the seasons for Christmas one year when I was in university, but I feel like it was just, like, burned.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we were all in school at the time.
Yeah, you're cutting corners. I get it.
We connected on the show, and then it was just like, hey, and that was a good gift. But I feel like maybe it was just like burned copies, so it wouldn't have had the extra.
Well, the thing is, when you listen to
Those
the
were
audio
the days.
commentaries, those are the days.
But that's the only way.
DVR.
But that's the only way you can watch it.
DVR.
There's the only way you can watch it.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah. What else were you gonna do? That's like that was like
the time at one point.
someone doing that high quality DVDs of my favorite show every episode was like the best gift you could get.
Well, one thing about it though, what I'm saying is, I remember the audio commentary for that particular episode, the one with the where all that came together with George Michael with the jetpack and stuff like that. The thing is, when they do audio commentaries, they have not like one of them on. They have like 8 of them on.
Really?
They all talk
at
the same time.
Wow.
Like that one, you can't even hear what's happening.
Okay.
They're all talking about it. You don't even know what's happening. Like,
They're as excited as we are.
Yeah.
And they're just watching like, oh, he was really drunk for that or something like that. And they're all talking over each other.
Yeah.
And like
I feel like
it's
that's
hilarious.
it's almost like going away for like summer camp and then like trying to talk about it afterwards. It's like they had so much fun they don't even know because you feel the chemistry between them.
Oh,
so like
each other,
talking about it after the fact must be really exciting to like see how it came together and then also be like at that point when they're probably doing those commentaries they weren't as big of actors as they are today. So to like go back within a few months and being like, this show is like a huge success and like this is what happened and this is amazing. It's like, I don't know. I feel like pretty great.
Oh, they were totally super best friends after this.
Doing this, yeah.
But you feel
not
that chemistry. You watch
well,
it.
not everyone.
Not everyone.
Who wasn't?
You didn't hear the story about like Jeffrey Tambor and
Tell me about it. I mean,
really
there's
bad.
a few stories.
I should know her name and
Jessica Walters.
And Jessica Walters, like apparently, like Jeffrey Tambor was real mean to her.
Doesn't
and
he have some other things?
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why like Transparent, for example, got canceled. Is like they're just like we don't want to work with you anymore
because of his relationship with her.
No.
Well, it brought up a couple of things, right? And then he was being an ass on that show as well to some of the actors that are there. And then there was a whole thing with who was it? Jason Bateman was defending Jeffrey Tambor. And so then there's like a souring happened because they did like what was it, table read or the interviews and like all of them were on the stage and she just brought like they were talking and she was asked a question and she just brought up this story and she was saying like it was a long time ago and whatever, but it was clear that she still had an issue with it because she like started to tear up and all that kind of stuff. And I think Jason Bateman was trying to like not really defend. I think he was just trying to like calm the situation. But in calming the situation, he was defending Jeffrey Tambor, kind of like minimizing the pain that she felt. Yeah. And it just came across as mean, So I think there's a little bit of souring that happened after that. But I mean, that's not going to be in commentaries from like, especially these 3 seasons, where it's where it wasn't too long after the things were filmed and they were like buddies and
did that
Me Too didn't happen as yet.
Did that have any impact on the newer seasons?
They were debating whether they're going to include Jeffrey Tambor in season 5 of Netflix, and they decided, we're gonna roll with it.
Well, it's a big deal if they take him out of it because the whole show really depends on his character.
Well, he plays 2 characters.
I mean...
2 characters, yes. What was the brother's name? Oscar, yes, Oscar. So, the amount of time
but then he
Oscar
also impersonates Oscar as himself. Which is just like, what?
Yeah. That's the thing. And that's what makes this show great. It's just like, he's a guy, then he's got a twin brother, Oscar, who gets in trouble because people think he's George, but then he impersonates Oscar to take the place of George and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, there's too many... things are building on top of this, on top of this, on top of this, on top of this. Yeah. And it's crazy.
That's why it's so funny.
Apparently, the actor, Jeffrey Tambor, his character, George, was supposed to be almost written out after the pilot. He was supposed to get arrested and then supposed to focus on Michael and like everyone else.
Yeah.
But he did such a great job. They made sure they included him in jail.
Yeah.
And they just wrote him in.
And I mean, some of those scenes are like...
were great.
Yeah. Or like when Lindsay shows up in prison wearing like the slut shirt. And she's just like, I just don't understand like why they are not paying attention to me.
And he's like, you're costing me so much money.
To get them to stop doing this. Like, please, you're killing.
Stop it. Yeah, and she does like the first time she shows up, she's got her head covered, she's got like a hat on, and she's like wearing this like old this old dowdy thing. She comes back with makeup done, hair done, and she's like sequins slut across her chest. She's like, they won't even look at me. God damn it! And she goes back 4 times or some nonsense.
Yeah,
she's like, stop visiting me. Like this is just not.
Yeah.
This is not right.
She's like, oh, daddy.
I know, especially for like she's trying to portray that all she cares about is these social issues.
Oh yeah, but she was also going to prison because she was trying to prove to her dad that she was more than just looks.
Yeah. But then,
and then it was just like,
and
then no one paid attention to her. She just freaks out, but she's like, the whole point was to prove her like intelligence and like, yeah, it's amazing.
It's fantastic.
Offensive.
It's offensive. Yeah,
amazing.
The funny thing is that there's so many technically offensive things in this show.
Oh yeah.
And actually,
yeah,
we already brought this up about the third season. You know, Mr. F. Which comes across as like, because, oh my god, I'm not good with names right now. Charlize Theron's character, which I am slow at looking up for some. I'm not even gonna try looking up because you're much faster than me for some reason.
Rita leads.
Rita, yes.
Right.
So she's got this braces on that says MRF on it, and they think, because they're already looking for a character named Mr. F.
Yeah.
That they think, like, oh, she's Mr. F. And no, it actually stands for mentally retarded female. And as soon as they find out that that's what it is, they say the term retard so many times in that one episode, and I was like, that's an episode that would never be made.
I mean, yeah, it was definitely the time.
Yes.
Like, go back to those times, and that was a free-for-all for sure.
But the funny thing is like, that got me thinking, I'm like, oh yeah, that wasn't offensive word at the time. I'm like, but why? Because that used to actually be a medical term.
Yeah.
You know?
For sure.
And then that got me, of course, into like this rabbit hole of like old medical terms that are now like inappropriate terms.
Yeah.
And things like idiot, imbecile, and moron used to be actual medical terms.
Yeah. It used to be levels of IQ.
Yeah. Apparently, what is it? Idiot was the lowest.
Yeah.
And moron was like the highest of the stupid people. Imbecile was in between.
Yeah.
But then they replaced that to not be offensive with retard.
Yeah.
And
which was like a replacement for stupid, which was like somewhere in between, or like you know, or silliness.
Yeah,
like,
and I thought
like,
that was
silliness.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Like
also,
I mean,
Julian, who's our censorship expert, where would that lie in terms of television today?
We don't let that on.
That's
the air.
not on the air. It would be bleeped
Would it?
Yeah.
I'm legitimately shocked that would be bleeped.
At least,
it's not. That's not
don't
okay.
Like it.
Yeah.
It got added to our list.
I don't. Wow. Would that even show up in a show today? Really? Because I feel like it's such an offensive term now that most producers or writers wouldn't include that in a show.
Or if they did, they'd make a big deal about it.
But maybe reality
show,
TV,
right?
someone might say it without thinking, and then we bleep it.
Yeah. See, I understand it if it's a word, like when it's said, somebody makes a big deal about it within like reality TV or TV show or whatever. But I never thought it's at a level where it would be bleeped.
Yeah, I think we're there.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty offensive. Like, I mean, I would say within probably the last 10 years, like, people have really, like, started to be like...
But, okay, so let me ask you a question about censorship then. Okay. Because there's a lot of shows on TV where I find the censorship odd. Okay? So, for example...
all Julian censors all the TV.
For example, there's shows where people will call someone an asshole, like a movie or something, but you bleep hole but leave ass, for example. Or, like, you bleep goddamn, but you leave bitch in, you know? Like, and I just find it weird.
Okay, so, one thing what we do is we don't like the word asshole.
Okay.
But we're okay with other iterations of ass plus another...
Like ass hat?
Ass hat, ass wipe, ass whatever.
Okay.
We're okay with those. But the actual connection of asshole is a no-go. And I get rid of the whole thing. That's what I do.
So not just the whole thing.
I get rid of the whole thing because if you are... What's the offensive part of that? It's the ass part. Because if it's just a hole could be... There's lots of holes.
Yeah.
I come across holes
not just the ass
every day.
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah. You're gonna have to bleep this.
So many holes.
No, we're not bleeping nothing. We're keeping all of this in.
So many holes of different origins.
Yeah.
So
not limited to the ass.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why. But I would get rid of the whole thing. Now with the word bitch, it's kind of weird. We went with it being offensive to being. We stopped caring about it. Like it just kind of, and then it came back into it being offensive again.
Okay. We've
had sort of this wave with this. It's the ebb and flow with the word bitch, and with the word bitch, we have a weird sort of relationship with it, where for a while we almost didn't care about it. Like it came out, and like we would point it out, but we would just not adjust anything because of it.
Is it because like it became part of like idioms and just like random slang, like "oh bitch please" and "oh you such a bitch, oh my god"? So then it became like this kind of like fluffy word.
Pretty much, yeah. Because of its pervasive use, it was just so out there that like it just got added to everything. Like it was fine, and then recently, people have been complaining about it being the word being used. So we are relaxing on it. Like we want to make sure we don't have that as much now. So you're
not relaxing on it. You're getting more strict.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. We don't want that to happen.
Yes.
Yeah. But I mean the word retard, and I personally have a hard time even saying that. I don't use that word at all. But like, I feel like it's had the opposite, like it went from being totally okay to being like not okay, where it just kind of fluctuated, and I don't know that word has like it's kind of just gone like on a steep.
Oh yeah, like people want it removed
from the time of this show existing until now. It's like it's so offensive, and then you kind of watch it in these like older shows, and it's like. Whoa.
Yeah,
they get away with that, you know.
But one thing about the show is like you don't feel offended when they use it because they don't use it in a flippant way. They're like, "Oh, that girl's retarded." They're like, "No, she has a condition, and she is." But it makes it less mean. You know what I mean?
It's not as mean, but it's still jarring to hear.
Oh yeah, the first time they said it, I was just like, "Oh shit, I forgot about that." Like that was, and that was one of the reasons why I took the note about it, because I was just like, "Oh." Yeah. But then it wasn't like overly like I was like every time they said it, I was just like, "Oh," but at the same time, it wasn't like, "Oh my god, I can't believe I'm watching this. This is so offensive." You know, like it didn't build up that like ranting anger. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because of the way they used it they didn't use it in a derogatory manner. They used it in a matter of fact manner, if you know what I mean.
Which was kind of funny. Like it was just really.
Yeah.
Like I remember the slow music was going, and George Michael was showing Michael the video of what was her name again? Rita
eating the fruit.
Eating the fake fruit. It's like, oh, she's going in for a second one. Yeah. And then George Michael was like, with the slow music happening, I think she might be retarded. And like it was funny. Yeah. And it was obscene, like it was crazy, but like they wouldn't write that.
They would never write that now. No. And then they cut back to her eating the grapes. She's like, she really liked those. It's just like, because the grapes are always like that squishy plastic, and she kept throwing it in her mouth, and just like pop out of her mouth, and she'd throw them back in. I was like, "Don't laugh, Tracy, don't laugh." And I was like, I'm a bad person, people.
No, but there's tons of offensive stuff, like all the Mexico scenes were pretty like pretty like rewatching that from today's standards was like
such a stereotype.
So many stereotypes, but also like the whole like the chicken thing.
The chicken dance is so good. It's crazy.
Like, well, they're just so offended by this chicken noise that it's like so inherent to their culture that they would be offended. It's like, what? Like it's just so bizarre. And
but I think it was more a reference to not like Mexicans being offended by it, but the fact that they have just a lack of cultural knowledge that to them because it doesn't offend them, why should it offend other people? And I'm
For
going to do whatever I
sure,
want.
but like then there's this fact that like Mexican culture is so foreign to American culture that they like that. Oh well, they would just be like offended. By this. I don't know. It's just like it comes across very differently today than it did.
It was. I really laughed though when they were fake. They did a fake funeral for George Sr. in Mexico, and when the body fell, it was actually a piñata filled with candy.
I know the people, and they're just scrambling in the street to pick up the candy.
Yeah.
Pretty like I don't know. Would that? Well, maybe still American TV. I don't know. It probably would still happen today. I don't know. You know.
I think they will. I think they would.
There's still a great divide.
Yeah. I think there would be more censorship on the episode based on that kind of stuff. Like, more warnings, you know?
Yeah. It would.
But,
I think like it wouldn't be on at like 7 p.m. Like
that's a 9 o'clock
watching,
show these days.
Yeah.
I was watching reruns of Arrested Development at like 7 p.m. throughout the summer when I was working as a janitor.
Yeah.
To go back to my janitor day.
This is a
But
9
it was
o'clock
very
show,
like it was like 6 or 7 p.m. watching reruns of that, and like you know I don't know that it would be today. Like that seems pretty like unlikely.
Oh, I remember that. I remember when it did air. It got into syndication somehow with such
which is
few
pretty
episodes.
like I'm really surprised it was in syndication.
Yeah, I didn't get it. Like I applauded them. I'm like,
but it's
wow.
also like it's not like you can't just throw standalone episodes in there. Like what would we do with this show today? Like you know what I mean? You gotta air them in order.
You do.
They don't make sense otherwise.
You do.
So like really like we wouldn't pick this up for syndication. You know, like it's just like what do you do with those? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like if you always have to air it in order, like that's a mess for a network.
No, this is
reruns.
a very unique show that
It is.
like you have to really devote yourself to it in order to really get what all the jokes are.
Yeah.
There's no
And
way.
you also can't get all the jokes in one watch. And
No.
no matter how devoted you are, you have to watch this show over and over again. What?
There's a stamp on it that says "Made in Canada" on the DVDs, but I was just like, why or what?
I don't know.
Why is it made in Canada?
I like this quote on the season 3 DVD thing. Better than just about everything on TV by GQ magazine. Sorry, that just threw me off.
That's amazing. Can I ask? Because I mean, I never really watched The Office until later on. But like, did they air that out of order? Like, did that go into like syndication and then they just aired reruns and like whatever?
I don't think that's a show you can really air out of order that much, though.
Yeah, I don't think so
Especially
either.
the
But there's
first
so
couple of-
many episodes. Did they ever?
Especially the first
And it's
couple
a
of
comedy.
seasons.
They aired it like in order, but like it was just come in and out of it. Yeah. You could just do it. So,
yeah. But the thing is about, especially the American version, is the first 2 seasons of the American version are almost exactly the same storyline as the UK one, but the UK one ended after those 2 seasons. And then they just went further. So if you see those first 2 seasons that are pretty much in order, like you need to watch those, everything after that, I don't think you need to watch in order.
Well, I think with The Office, though, because of the setting and the plot behind it, like it's about, you know, just being bored at an office, a lot of the viewers can just
understand that?
Yeah, they can find that very relatable. You know what I mean?
I can find that very
This is about a super rich family who all of a sudden doesn't have any money, and they're trying through get rich quick schemes to sort of get back to getting money.
Yeah.
But they're coming across like it is not relatable at all.
So it's like 90% of the
Yeah, and so you can't just watch this without knowing the characters. Because let's just say I start from watching a random episode. There's a man dressed that's blue. There's a guy with a hook hand.
He's at the beach yelling, loose seal! My mother doesn't tell me what to do anymore! You're just like,
I find that relatable.
You know what I mean? Like, you can't... When you watch, that's your first episode, just watching.
Yeah. You're just like, I don't even know
I don't know what is happening here.
Yeah, and it's true, and it's absolutely true. It's absolutely true.
So there's no way, there's no way this could have been a success unless you really got into it.
Yeah, it's a cult, sort of.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's how they made their following. I mean, season 1, I don't even think had very good ratings, but they kept it on because of the cast, pretty much. And then by the midway through season 2, people were just like, this is amazing! Why haven't we watched this before?
Yeah.
And then, but because they had started losing their funding because there wasn't enough ratings, the next season got shorter, and then they got canceled. Yeah. And that's why it moved to Netflix, it was a big thing.
But there's too big of a gap between that and Netflix.
Oh, for sure.
For sure. Yeah. I mean,
If it had happened right away, I feel like they could have gotten a lot more seasons out of it.
Yeah.
Well, Netflix didn't happen right away.
Netflix did not exist.
I
am aware of that.
And,
but it was like kind of Tracy was like, well, then it moved to Netflix, but it's like there was a gap in there, and it, unfortunately, had that happened right away, I feel like maybe it would have been saved.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
it would have been saved. And also, all of them moved on to something else.
Mm-hmm.
It was crazy.
Damn them.
Every single one of them moved on to something else.
Yeah.
And
but nothing that great.
Great. Wow.
Literally at the same time, it's like 1, 2, 3, opposite things.
Yeah.
Not that great.
Personally, I think the most underrated person in the show is Portia de Rossi because, well, not her specifically, but the show she did after this was a show called Better Off Ted.
I love Better Off Ted.
I loved that show.
I vaguely remember that show.
I love that show. I think you're like the third person I know who actually knows that show. Yeah. And that show...
Explain the premise.
The premise is this guy named Ted who works in a corporation.
A huge corporation.
Who can never do anything wrong. Like, the corporation can't do anything wrong. But the whole point is the corporation does everything wrong, and he has to fix the issues. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, they have episodes where they sent out a memo where they're supposed to say people mustn't swear, but it says people must swear.
Right.
So they spend the whole episode insulting each other, Yeah. Or there's the episode where they, to save money, they installed motion detectors.
That's my favorite episode, sorry.
It's the best episode.
It's the best episode.
They install motion detectors, but the motion detectors, they're so cheap, they don't detect black people. So they hire white people to follow black people.
Because it's cheaper than actually fixing them.
But the problem is you can't just hire a bunch of white people. So they hire white people to follow black people. They hire black people to follow white people that they hire to follow black people. And of course you can't just hire a bunch of black people. And then they calculated how long it would take for them to hire the whole world. And they were like, no, that's not cost effective. So then they changed to motion detectors. And it's just so ridiculous. Like, it's just these ridiculous things, within it. And it's so well done. Like,
I vaguely remember that
so
show.
Good.
I don't know if I feel like I probably did watch it, but like an episode or something, though. Mm-hmm. It seems so long ago.
Did you have trouble seeing Portia de Rossi's new character? Like, did you see it in the light of being Lindsay?
No.
No, really?
Well, because my first interaction with Portia de Rossi was from Alia McBeal. And she played this, like, obnoxious, stoic character. Yeah. But she had a little bit more flair on that show, but it was pretty much the same character in Better Off Ted. Yeah. And so that's what, like, I saw her character from Alia McBeal. Okay. I didn't see Lindsay, When I saw her at Lindsay, that's when I was just like, what? Like, it was that kind of, like, reaction to it. But yeah, like, I had no problem with her in Better Off Ted at all. Okay.
Because, like, I got to know a lot of these actors through this show. Mm-hmm. And so that's all I saw from them. Yeah. You know what I mean? Especially Michael Cera, who was George Michael. Mm-hmm.
But he had done very little before.
He had done very little, and then the first thing he does, like, super bad.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's just George Michael just getting into teenage shenanigans.
Yeah.
There's stuff like that.
He's been pretty, like, I know he keeps trying to grow out of the George Michael, but he, pretty much everything he's done has been George Michael.
That's who he is.
That's who he is. Yeah.
And I don't know. I see all of them. Like, luckily for Jessica Walter, her Lucille character is very similar to the character in Archer.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, it's the
same character.
It's the same character.
Yeah.
Good for her.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
She gets to swear more. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, that was great. But like all of them, it's like they were so good at defining their characters that I love them all, and that is who I saw them as.
Yeah.
So all these times, Will Arnett, I see him. He's just trying to be Job, but a better, like in a different situation. But
I love the fact that Amy Poehler shows up in the show too.
That was amazing.
But is that how they met each other within the show, or
No,
did they
I don't
meet before
think so.
that?
No, they were already married by that time.
Oh, okay. I just wasn't sure. Like I just couldn't remember. I didn't remember she was in the show in the first place.
She had a seal
I
deal.
don't remember that.
Yeah, because he met.
Oh, they were married
As a-
briefly,
On
and
a
it was
dare.
like kind of like this.
Yeah, it was a dare
Yeah.
because they met each other in a bar, and then they started doing Truth or Dare.
Right.
They kept
They started
doing
upping
dares,
each other.
I
upping it.
remember that. Yes.
So then they got married,
Right.
but she left to do the seal deal before they consummated the marriage.
I remember.
So he wanted to get it annulled.
And then he kept pretending that he had consummated the marriage,
Yes.
but he hadn't consummated the marriage.
Exactly,
Yes. Okay.
and that's how. Like, but in order to get it annulled, he had to admit he
Yes,
didn't have
I
sex
remember
with her.
that.
Yeah.
But he didn't because he's Job.
He's Job.
He's
He
Job.
ruins everything. Yeah. Yeah, it was kind of great.
Didn't he
like
have sex with Anne? Isn't there like in season 3
Season
where
3,
he's
yeah.
like has some relationship with Anne?
and that's after the pageant. And
That is inner beauty pageant.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last episode I watched was the episode where there's one episode after that, but like Anne won the inner beauty
She was
pageant.
third, actually.
Huh?
She was third.
She was third.
She
Bob-
did not win.
Bob Blabla's
Daughter.
was second
Mm-hmm.
because she had it going on in the physical department as
Yeah.
well.
Shirley.
Shirley Fumke.
AKA.
Yeah, it was first.
Maybe was number one. Maybe
Is Shirley
in a
really
wheelchair.
the opposite of maybe?
Well,
Because wouldn't
one
it surely
character.
be the opposite of like definitely not?
Yeah, but definitely not a name.
Mm-hmm.
That's a hard joke
Yeah.
to drop.
Maybe the name Shirley's not a name.
That is true. I'll give you that. Okay, I'll give you that. Fine. Yes. Ignore my what I think is hilarious.
And that's my middle name. Shirley.
Shirley?
Shirley.
What?
That's why I relate to maybe.
So if you say Shirley, you must be kidding. You'll be like, I am kidding.
I'm always kidding.
You can never say, don't call me Shirley. Oh my god, that's amazing.
I do sometimes because it's funny.
And then people are just like, I don't get your joke. What are you talking about?
You-
Where?
You bring out all of airplanes for the water.
She just starts talking jive out of nowhere. You're just like, what? He's like, let me blow up the autopilot.
And then
Yes.
surely you go you set it up.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I should work on my setup.
Yes, I think so. I think it'd be amazing.
I've got time.
What character do you mostly relate to?
Relate. Okay, not favorite character, but relate to.
I think we mentioned favorite character already.
Yes, and I picked maybe.
Yeah, mine was Tobias. That's my
It's
favorite character.
relate to. It's either Buster or Tobias. I'm sorry.
Why?
I'm a giant joke. Like seriously. I mean, either everything I say is taken out of context, and they're just like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Or I like fall on my face slapstick style, so it's fine. So it's one or the
That's
other.
not true. I've never seen you fall on your face.
Oh, thanks. I have this like no. I think that whole like I have this thorough fear that I'm gonna fall all the time. But I think
Isn't that George Michael who has like the fears of underachieving or screwing up? Like that's where you fall.
maybe it's George Michael and Tobias then? Maybe?
I don't know the Tobias thing, Tracy. You're gonna have to explain more.
No, but I think a lot of the things I say, I don't say them right, and people take them out of context, right? And I know Tobias always says everything so that it sounds like he's queer.
Yeah.
Fine. I just say things that people are just like, she's an idiot. I'm not. I'm actually kind of intelligent. But like I think the falling fear goes back to like high school and stuff. I was very klutzy. And we had like a group of friends where like my friend Cera, for example, always spilled something on herself. That's the thing that she did. Whatever she had in her, it could be water, it could be juice, it could be whatever. Some of it would end up on her body at some point in time.
That sounds like me.
I just fell down a lot. There was a thing. And I think as I got older, of course I got more stable because I got used to, being an adult or having an adult body or whatever. But I still have that.
Like, after high school.
After high school, yes. But what I'm saying is, like, I still have that, like, I always think I'm, like, it's cold outside, it's icy, I'm like, I'm gonna fall. Yeah. Like, I'm gonna fall, That's all I keep thinking.
Yeah.
So.
I think you're George and Michael. There's a lot of anxiety there about things that, like.
Well, apparently
it's like the intelligence is there, but then there's like this anxiety that doesn't necessarily line up about like how other people are like perceiving.
Yeah. Oh, okay. If you think that, I'm gonna take it.
George Michael.
I feel like that's a pseudo compliment, and I'm gonna accept it.
I don't know. I've never thought of you as like a klutz in the 9 years I've known you.
Oh my God, has it been that long?
Tracy, I don't know.
Jesus, okay.
But like, God knows. But like in that time, I don't know that I've ever been like out of our group of friends. Like Tracy's the klutz. Like I thought I was the klutz because I literally spill stuff on myself. Like
I'm gonna tell you this right now. I work really hard at that.
Oh, good, because I don't. And I've just been going with it.
So wait, what characters do you guys most relate to then?
You go.
I don't want to say it, but Job. Like 100%.
Is it because it's the final countdown all the time, and you're just gonna do some magic?
I love that song.
If I had to like sit here and you'd be like, private room, like Temptation Island, you like talk secrets about people, and Tracy was like, "What character is Julian?" I'd pick Job.
Yeah,
I would pick Job 120%, like in all the way. Julian is Job.
Okay, one thing, like Job, I think I'm probably more competent than I am. Mm-hmm. Have like sort of a small ego, which is like.
Sorry, no, Job does not have a small ego.
Sorry.
Okay.
Well, I'm just trying to relate here.
Okay.
They all have egos, but Job has... Okay, Job has a humongous ego. I don't think it's at that level. Mm-hmm. But I do think I could magic my way out of anything. Mm-hmm. When really Michael is doing all the hard work behind me. Mm-hmm. And stuff like that.
So you just show up and take credit. That's what you're thinking?
I'm very okay with that. Like right now, there's going to be an amazing podcast.
Yeah. It's all because
here. Yeah.
Oh, God, yeah.
That is.
Yeah.
It's not magic, it's an illusion.
I also like pageantry. I would love if every day, like, okay, there's that episode where he's doing magic in the workplace.
Yes.
Where he's trying to make money while at work. Mm-hmm. And so... Joel, that is working. Yeah. So there was that, and then he's just like trying to figure out just how to make every day just more crazy.
Yeah.
and stuff like that, and he has all the answers for that, and it just ruins everyone's time around them. I do that all the time.
Okay.
But I think it's just hilarious if, like, I do something that I think is amusing, and I don't care regardless of what consequences.
You're like, I think this is hilarious. It's happening.
Yes.
This is the thing.
That, I would do that, and I would jump all in on that, too.
So wait.
Joe.
So you're Joe. So Jamie, what about you?
I think the character I find most relatable is Maybe.
Okay.
I guess, like, from one standpoint, she's kind of like this character who likes to cause, like, trouble and, like, have fun and just, like, do whatever without consequences, but she also just, like, disappears really quickly when there are consequences.
Yeah. You know what? I have to admit, I kind of agree with that because I have spent many a night hanging out with Jamie over here, and we have had some interesting adventures. But yeah, she runs away as soon as, like, oh, something's gonna happen. I gotta go. I got to go.
Time to go.
Yeah.
But then also she also pretends like she wants to, like, get out of her family, but then she also values it in this other way when like she thought maybe there was, like, this possibility she might be, like, adopted or whatever. She was just, like, clinging to, like, well, I need, like, this family. And I think I do that with my family a bit. I'm like, have this, like, sort of, like, push away. I don't need you, whatever. But then I'm like, oh no, but I do.
But you know what's funny about Maybes? I find that she seems to be the sort of like the antithesis of Michael. And it's like she has the brains and she has the ability and the want to leave the family. Yeah. But she uses her quote unquote powers for evil, where he uses powers for good. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's they are both the same way, but both of them use their abilities in completely different ways.
That sounds very similar to my family.
Wait, so then I'm not gonna ask you that.
Trevor is probably the Michael in that situation. I am definitely the Maybe. Oh, definitely all in, maybe. Maybe. Yeah. But I'll get out as quickly as I'll share this with Trevor.
I will send him a personal email like, Trevor, don't ask me how I hunted down this email address, but you need to listen to this.
Love you.
Done. Also send him the Christmas episode because you talked about like Santa.
Wow. He knows. He doesn't even need
He's like he's there. He knows about all this. It's fine.
He'd probably be more offended that you send that to anyone else. It's like him. He'd be like, okay, but I keep this and you don't share it with anyone.
Well, is there anything else you guys wanna talk about?
I just love the random visual gags that they have in this show. Like I'm just right now staring at the box art from this DVD, and it's the stair car. The fact
the stair car is great.
That there is a stair car and they can't seem to get around it.
There's no other vehicle.
There's no other thing.
No, there's George Senior's car.
Wow, there is, and then you.
But there's what is Buster goes to the dig and there's like a skeleton or a giant rock in the back seat, so nobody gets in the back seat the whole time. Yeah, there can only be 2 people in that car at any point in time.
Yeah,
and then Michael like hit his head against it, and then like his mom pulled him into the driver's seat and made it look like he caused the accident
because the mom didn't want him to be against her like everyone else.
That's fair.
But then he's like, just be nice.
Yeah. And she's like, I can't.
Yeah, that's also relatable. Maybe I'm the mom in this. I could see that happening.
But I also love the fact that they, like, throughout the whole show, they have 2 people with the exact same name, Lucille. Yeah. And it's like Lucille and Lucille 2. Yeah. And then the funny thing is that Lucille 2 disappears for a while, but they make references to her later on. Yeah. And they just randomly say Lucille 2, and you're just like, wait, I haven't seen her for like a half a season. What's going on?
I also like
she's
they
great.
don't bother to know her name. You know what I mean? She's just Lucille too.
Yes. Oh yeah. There's no reason to know anything else about her. You can't call her by her last name or anything. It's just Lucille too.
Yeah.
Done. That's everything.
Because they're like social, like at odds with each other. They're like in competition, right?
But they're like, I think they're one of the earliest, like frenemies, like active
I mean, you're talking about
on,
like
a TV
rich
show.
people who are like socialites and like they're like completely at odds with one another in some ways, but then also like best friends in others, which like it's kind of playing to that like social class that like you can't connect with in this show. And then it's Lucille too. You don't even have to name her because you're not going to associate with her anyway. Like, you know, like she's so distant from the people that are watching this show.
Exactly. Like, I mean, with us, like random quote unquote regular poor people, sure. Yeah. Like, you don't like somebody, you just go the other way. You're just like, fuck off, whatever. Yeah. But when you're rich, you got to keep these socialites and these people with money close by in case, you know?
Like Lucille and Lucille too were best friends, but all they wanted to do was screw each other.
Yeah.
Like, let's renovate our apartments in order to, like, make sure they get less room. Yeah. Let's, point out your dead husband, you know what I mean?
All the time.
Yeah. Oh, like, my husband's in jail, but he's coming home, but yours is dead.
Yeah.
Like,
there were some brutal ones in
there. But they say it in this, like, respectful, almost way, like, so politely, but, you know, it's dead.
And also...
And, like, it's just, like, so plays to this, like, social class.
That also plays to another, like, there was an episode, I don't remember which one, but Job accidentally, as a joke, worked as a waiter. And then he was hitting on all the people at the club, at the country club. Lucille, his mom, never looks her waiters in the eye. And then so when he's hitting on her, she doesn't pay attention and whatever. And eventually they realize that who's interacting. He's offended that, like, you know, oh my God, it's my mom. And she's like, oh my God, you're being a waiter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then just the whole thing of, you know, the class difference. Like, we never look at the help. Or being the help is fun.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like, that's the only way that joke comes away.
There's also that scene
that's not the only time that joke
it's not the only time.
No,
but that's how the joke works.
There's also that scene where it was like that, where the episode where Michael accidentally abducts the, like, lady. Yeah. And then, like, Lucille was, like, something along the lines of, like, what'd she say? The cleaning lady was, like, taking her, like, dress or something to get cleaned, and then Michael was gonna follow her, and she says to her, she's like, be careful with that, it's worth more than your house. And then she, like, turns to Michael, and she's like, she doesn't even have a house. And it's just like this, like, clear, like, divide.
Yeah.
And then he goes and, like, abducts her because he can't tell the difference between the two Spanish.
And that's funny because, and the reason why that's funny is because Michael believes that he's like, no, I see everybody.
Yeah, I see everybody. I'm not racist.
But I'm like, but him picking up the wrong person, it's clear that he's like, you don't know what your mate, like, who your mate is. You don't know what she looks like. You don't even know what her name is. Yeah. Because he, like, when he picks her up, he's just like, hey, get in the car. Let's go. He never calls her by her name or anything. Yeah. Even through the whole drive.
He thinks he's, like, above everybody else, but he's just as bad.
He's just as bad as the rest of them. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's the most quote-unquote sensible person. Yeah. But he's definitely not anywhere above them in any way, shape, or form. You know what I mean?
No, not at all.
So, they like to remind, like, I like the fact that they remind the audience that, like, no, he's a rich kid. Yeah. You know, no matter what he says, he's a rich kid.
He's trying to organize his family who's, like, fallen apart as a result of losing all of their money. So he's trying to, like, you know, fix that. But, like, it doesn't take away from the fact that he's just a rich kid that never had, he's always had money, so he doesn't
know what it's like to actually not have money.
Yeah,
at any
for sure.
point. Yeah.
And I mean, anybody who has like Spanish made in the U.S. probably
doesn't know that kind of thing.
Can I just say 2 jokes of like class warfare kind of jokes
Sure.
that I
Love
love
it.
from this
Yeah.
show? One was when they were trying to spare, this is a Good Grief episode, there were the flashbacks of Buster. They're trying to spare him from finding out about George Sr.'s death.
Yes.
Because remember what happened last time when his like bird
his bird landed in the maid's hair and when she went outside and flew away.
Yeah.
Yes.
So then he took the dustbuster and threw it against the bus, thinking he ruined her favorite toy against her like favorite her car.
Yes.
Right.
That's just
Well, because even before that, they're like, he destroyed the kitchen because he thought that was her home or something. Yes.
I thought those were crazy jokes.
He wore like Job's stripper,
Yeah.
instead of, because he didn't actually join the army, so he didn't have army clothes, so he just wore like a stripper uniform.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I didn't know strippers wore clothes, and then Job's
Joe
like,
just rips
and he just like rips off all of his clothes at once.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
The second class warfare joke that I loved was honestly, it was when Lucille was like, "You're yelling at Job for like taking an extra banana. What are they, like $10?"
Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
And then that one lasted way beyond the show.
Yes.
Like, people are still using that as memes right now.
Yeah.
Or how much is a banana? $10?
Yeah. It's for people who just like they're just out of touch. You're just like, of course a banana's not $10. What is wrong with you? Like, Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Because she doesn't have to pay for anything. She's one of those people who's always walked into stores or had somebody go buy something for her or whatever. She doesn't look at price tags. She doesn't look at discounts or sales or whatever. She's just like, I want that. I want that. I want that. Get it. Doesn't matter how it happens. We're getting this. Yeah. Like that's it.
But I think going back to like one of the amazing things about this show is that like it always plays back to that, and the characters always stay in character, and there's always these lines or these gags that happen to these characters to keep that identity real, versus like other shows where it's just like they try to maintain this long-standing comedy, and then it's like, even like The Office as an example, and it's like, is Jim cheating on Pam, and he goes off because he gets this other job, and then like Pam starts seeing the cameraman, and it's like, this is so out of character
for them,
and this comedy has been stretched out too far. But with like Arrested Development, it's always maintaining that character within those gags, and The Office lost that. They couldn't maintain the gag and keep them in character. They had to invent new gags that took them out of character. Yeah. And this show maintained it. Not to say that it was as long running as The Office, but like throughout, and that's what made it amazing, was like these small little things that kept them in character but were still hilarious.
But personally, I think that's part of one of the deep jokes of Arrested Development. I mean, the concept of Arrested Development is that you are a person who is stuck in a very specific place and you do not grow, right?
Yeah.
And within the show,
that's important.
These people, they don't learn any lessons. They don't change in any way. They don't evolve. They don't become better. They don't become worse.
That's why The Simpsons are still on the air.
No,
like, you know what I mean?
Garbage now.
I get it. But, like, they're still in character. Whereas I think...
actually, to tell you the truth, if you watch early episodes of The Simpsons and episodes of The Simpsons now...
I don't actually know. I assume they're still somewhat in character. Yeah. And they haven't diverged too far from what they originally were. But maybe they are. And maybe that's why no one's watching anymore. I don't know. But, like, I do feel like for a comedy to succeed, and maybe that's why The Simpsons are succeeding now, is to maintain that, like, core... to find a way to keep the gags going around those core characters. Because as soon as you change those characters, it's no longer the same show, and people are gonna lose interest because they may as well tune into the next comedy with a new set of characters.
But I think there's a difference between your character evolving, like, you know, like you're going through these scenarios, you've learned lessons, so you've changed or improved or whatever. I think there's that compared to going something against their moral fiber. Yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah. And a lot of shows like get those two things confused. They're just like, oh no, he's evolved, so he'll cheat on his wife. No, that goes against his moral fiber.
And that's the character I've invested in. And I mean, a lot of comedies that are too long running fall into that trap because they're trying to invent.
Because they try new. They want to be like, oh, we have to do something else now. So let's just do this.
They run out of ideas. Yeah. And really, they should just like sum it up and get it over with. But like, I mean, this show was short-lived, and really, like, had it been 5-6 consecutive seasons, maybe we wouldn't talk about it as
this, you know,
intensely, because really it would have fallen off because they try to reinvent themselves or do what they did with season 4 or whatever, and it would have lost that like following. But I think that's why it's so strong, is because it stays so true to those characters through all of the seasons, while like inventing storylines around those characters that fit them so well to make it so funny.
But that's what I think. I think that's the thing. That's the joke. Like that's the joke of it, is the fact that no, these people, they're not going to learn lessons. No, they're not going to evolve. They're not going to do anything else. They're like,
and you don't want
in
them
the first episode, they're this person. In the last episode, they're exactly this person.
I don't know. I feel like that's what I want from a comedy. Like, I don't want them to evolve. I want it to be familiar, and I want it to, you know,
to be
in this era where you're watching one episode per week versus binging it. You know, we're in a different era today, but at this time, it was like, I want to tune in each week. I want them to be the same. I want there to be a crazy storyline around what they're doing. But essentially, I want to have the same character. I don't want it to be a new character in the next. I don't want Lindsay to be somebody else the next week. Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
But one thing I like you brought up, is the fact that we're in different areas of like TV and film and all that kind of stuff. And especially when it comes to binge watching, the creation of the stories and how they are within the show, because they don't depend on ad breaks, the story is actually told in a completely different way. And if you watch these 3 seasons, they do, there are even jokes around ads that are within the show, you know? And because the show is built in this very specific way, and I think in maybe 10-15 years, people they'll watch the show and be like, why is this whiting out here? What is he talking about here? Like, they're gonna miss those jokes because they're like, I don't know what ads are, quote unquote.
Even the format of a 30-minute comedy binge watched is awkward. It's weird.
Yes, it is.
It is. Yeah.
It's weird. And most shows that I watch, that I'm binge watching or I'm watching on Netflix or whatever, aren't comedies. They're not 30-minute comedies.
No.
So I don't want to go as far to say that this will be dead. I don't know that the 30-minute format will be dead, but I think it needs to evolve in a way that people can binge watch it. Because I binge watched Arrested Development in a way because I watched it before and there's nostalgia. Yeah. And I've been rewatching The Office because of nostalgia. But I can't think of the last 30-minute comedy I've binge watched that's brand new.
That's true. Like, I don't have
one.
Yeah. I don't really. I think all of the shows that I rewatch for nostalgia, or just like, you know, like you always have that show that you put on because you're doing something, it's background noise. Yeah. Like I put on Scrubs all the time, for example, because I love Scrubs. But it's one of those shows where I can just have it in the background while I'm doing, you know, cleaning the place or cooking or just some kind of random thing. And I'm like, you know, in like the bathroom scrubbing the toilet.
Scrubbing.
Well, you gotta have
scrubsing
gonna
the toilet.
Scrubsing.
And like I'm already giggling because I remember what happened in the scene, but I can't like you said, I can't even think of something that's made within the last like 4 or 5 years that I can do that with. You know, like that 70s show is another show that I do that with because it's just on.
Yeah.
And it's nostalgia, but most other shows I'm just like, you know, like it's just this other, or it's not
I mean, it's a tough thing. I remember a friend of mine in my first year of university saying there's no classic cinema that's being produced today. Yes, there is, right? But like at the time I was like, oh, like I was trying to think about that, and I was like, is anything that's being produced today going to be considered classic? And I had a tough time thinking about that. And maybe it's the same thing with TV. It's like today things are being produced and we're not thinking about it in the same way. But at the same time, things have really changed with people having access to more entertainment than ever before. Yeah. And I don't know that like newer generations who have grown up with having access to content in this way look at things as nostalgically as we do. I don't know, and only time will tell, whether whatever show, whatever's, I don't even know. What comedy is like a young millennial watching right now? What is that?
I don't know.
So like, are they watching something that 10, 15, 20 years from now, they're going to look back on and be like, you know, the way we look back on this show and be like, I need to rewatch these episodes. Probably. Probably. I just don't know.
But I think any kind of media, it's one of those things that when you're experiencing it, unless it's like a world, like an overall clearly world event, like the moon landing or the Berlin Wall coming down or something like that, most things don't seem as you know, changing as you think it is. But then 10 years later or 20 years later, there's some kind of retrospective that comes up and you're just like, oh my god, this influenced this and this made this happen.
Yeah, and so much of it is like, you know, from your own perspective.
Your own view.
You know, like when my friend and I were having that conversation our first year of university, that was the year Kill Bill came out. And I was like, what about that?
That first movie. And she was like, I don't think that's going to be a classic. And I was like, I kind of feel like that's going to be a classic. And how many times have I rewatched that movie? Yeah.
Even in the last 6 months? Like, a lot. It's one of my favorite movies, like, probably of all time.
Yeah.
I love that first movie, and I love the second as well. So it's just like, I mean, when you're in it, it's so hard to tell. Yeah. It's also hard to tell what another generation is identifying with. And as platforms are changing even faster than they were at that time, like it's changing every day now, it's really hard to predict.
Yeah, the thing is that I think, especially with the current generation or generations that are growing up right now, is that compared to our growing up, there's no forced consumption. You don't have to listen to whatever's on the radio. You don't have to watch whatever's on TV. No. You can physically you put yourself in like a hole and just like, I want to watch this and I want to listen to this and I don't have to pay attention to anything else.
But also, you're not paying attention to anything
in
else.
Particular. Yeah.
It's like now content, like you want to call it television content, viewed on different platforms, that's like taking up so much of my time. Like any time before, like I look back at the last 15 years of my life, and now is when I consume more content than I've ever consumed ever. Like I am constantly watching content.
Yeah. No, but that's the thing. Like since I was about 12 or 13, always watching TV. Yeah. Always watching movies.
I have never. I was watching a lot of TV, but never to the point where I am always watching TV. Like I literally watch TV from the moment I get home to the time I go to bed. Like I was never like that.
Well, right now,
ad free. just content.
Access to content is easier than ever because not only is it at our fingertips with like Netflix or like whatever like whatever like apps we can access, like websites and whatever. It's also all of our stuff is portable too.
Yes.
So we could bring like an iPad or a laptop wherever we are.
Oh yeah, and I can download it on my phone, so when I'm on the TTC on my way to work, I'm watching content.
Yeah, exactly. So it is easier to consume things.
But
I'm taking full advantage.
There's just generally more. There's just so much content being made.
Oh, of course.
And it's so accessible.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's just like, I don't know. There's so much content accessible now. We're consuming more content than ever. We're consuming a lot less 30-minute format comedies.
Well, the thing is with 30-minute format comedies is the fact that 30-minute formats were usually 22 minutes.
Yeah.
But now we're getting a full 30 minutes.
But what is it, though?
I don't
have an example of even that.
Well, if you watch any TV show that's on Netflix, like for example, the other day I watched, it's not there is comedy elements to it, but it's more than that. But
30 minutes?
I watched Russian Doll the other day.
Is that 30 minutes?
No. I think it's 30 minutes.
Is it 30 minutes?
I think so. I tell you the truth, when I was watching, I didn't really check the timing. I know.
Isn't that more like a drama?
Well, it's like the Emmys themselves define comedy to have to be 30 minutes, right? Because because things like Orange is the New Black and Nurse Jackie were winning comedy awards, whereas other ones were left in the dust, so they made sure comedies have to be 30 minutes.
That doesn't make any sense.
No, I know, but it was in
no
order to
sense.
save
like other, a genre?
To award other deserving shows of things.
But if your show is just fucking funny, just let it be funny.
But
but think of shows on like HBO. You have shows like Insecure or Barry is like a dark comedy, but there's funny elements.
Yeah.
Like it's a
I
funny
guess
show.
I agree.
Also, Connection, Harry Winkler.
Yeah.
Anyways, but like there's funny elements.
I guess though. I mean, what I was getting at was like the question of whether or not the 30-minute comedy format is dead, and maybe it is.
It might,
you know what I mean?
It
might.
I think it'll survive because
how is it going to survive? Like I haven't seen it on any other platform other than network television. What other platform is it on?
No, but the thing is, you're saying that it's but you're saying that it's on network television, and there are comedies out there. There's comedies like The Neighborhood. There's
I know. What I'm saying is they live right now on network television, but as that's fizzling out, the newer platforms aren't producing 30-minute comedies. So is that format dead?
But
or
but I think
are they adapting it to the new platforms as a longer format rather than 30 minutes?
So I have a problem with what you're thinking of what comedies are. You're thinking of sitcoms specifically.
Yeah, the 30 minute.
But sitcoms aren't all of comedy.
No,
right?
I get it, but is that dead? Like, is that going to get adapted to Netflix? Because it hasn't yet. It doesn't exist yet.
Yeah. But
so,
is
it going to happen outside network television, which inevitably will be gone in the next 10 years? It will be gone.
Yeah.
Sorry, but it will be.
Yeah.
So, will it still exist? Or will it become longer?
I think the idea of the basic sitcom is going to disappear.
Yeah.
Because technically, sitcom is a situation comedy, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of shows out there that have like half an hour shows like on HBO or Netflix or whatever, where they have people in situations that are humorous.
Yeah.
Like they're comedic in some way. But we have gotten used to laugh tracks and, stupid gags and, just kind of ridiculousness.
Yeah.
And I think that version of a situation comedy, like a sitcom, is very much on the way out.
Right.
Because even like the new ones that they could like, I've been trying to watch The Family and stuff like that, and I'm just like, I like Cedric.
Family?
The Neighborhood.
Yeah.
Sorry. And like, I like Cedric the Engineer. I think he's great, and we'll try to like support, whatever. But it's not working. But even things like Blackish, it's a situation comedy, but it's like if you watched any season, half the episodes in this quote unquote situation comedy aren't funny. there's serious issues that they're trying to resolve, and you don't get like a belly laugh. You're just like, oh yes, serious.
But is that also like network television not giving airtime to serious issues, or like something that could have been an hour-long format, but like
But I don't think serious issues need an hour-long format.
I don't want, or sometimes I don't want an hour-long for everything.
Yeah,
if this was an hour long,
like accustomed.
I think I would hate it.
I wouldn't like
but
this if it was an hour long.
This is 13, 14 years ago. Like, you know what I mean?
That.
But like today, everything new that I am consuming is not 30 minutes.
I miss this. I want to enjoy a smart comedy that's 30 minutes long.
But can it survive in this binging sort of world?
I was just looking up a few Netflix comedies that exist, and
Russian Doll are 30-minute episodes.
Yeah.
FYI.
Which one?
Russian Doll.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I know BoJack Horseman's 30
love
minutes.
But that show is brutal.
But that didn't
brutal.
start
That
out
show
on
brutal.
Netflix.
Yes, it did.
No,
yes,
it didn't.
It's a Netflix original show.
100%.
Yes, it did. Mm-hmm.
I
And
don't think it
no,
did.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And
I watched it from day one.
what was that? Grace and Frankie, like Grace and
okay.
Frankie.
Does that have
Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
Yes.
They exist. They're different. They're not exactly how they. No one is making a
Are they full 30 minutes instead of 22?
Yes, they are.
But the thing is, you're right. They're few and far between.
Yeah.
Because this was the way we consumed all shows before. Yeah. Were the 30-minute thing. So you're right. There were a lot of them.
It's shifting.
And we all got it is everything shifts. But I feel like something as dense as Arrested Development shouldn't be longer than 30 minutes.
No. For sure. But if Arrested Development came out today on Netflix alone, like brand new, would it survive?
They'd also make it darker. This would be a much darker show.
It wouldn't be a 30-minute comedy.
The fourth season was darker.
The fourth season was a little bit darker, but I think if you have that dark, heavy element, I think, Lindsay would get a disease and Job would actually lose fingers for real, or something but they would make it this heavy, because there has in all shows now
different
there has to be this. There has to be consequences of the things that you do.
Whereas there's no consequences.
There's repercussions, but there's no actual consequences to the garbage that they do in this show, right? There's repercussions, yes. They have to deal with it, but except for Buster, he loses his hand. But everybody else is just things come back and smack you in the face, but you'll be fine, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. But if this was made now, people would George Sr. would get raped in jail, and they'd be like, "There's the consequences of getting raped in jail."
Henry Winkler's character always has consequences. He always shows up and they're talking about their problems, and then he has very real problems. Yeah, and he's trying to put forward. So
there'd be a whole huge other issue. George Michael and maybe Mike actually, instead of just kissing, they'd have sex and she'd get pregnant. And they'd be like, we've got to talk about abortion now. It'd be this dark, heavy show in this humor.
Well, I don't know. They might, because they don't have the thing.
So this Arrested Development would be Degrassi?
Yes. Well, I totally think Arrested Development was made in its time.
It was made in its time.
It's 100% in a time capsule.
I don't know.
Early 2000s time capsule. Yeah. We're in a war, but we're gonna make jokes about war.
I'm even thinking about if I shared this podcast with my 10-year-old nephew, I don't think he'll ever understand
any of it. No,
I remember when this first came out. I think I read a review saying this is one of the first postmodern shows. Mm-hmm. Because it took normal tropes, turned it on its heads, told jokes that had lasting impressions, recurring, not just recurring jokes, but it took an informed audience and just sort of went with it.
Yes.
Is that from Wikipedia?
No, that's just memory. I don't know. And
sorry, go on.
And
go
also
on.
the fact that, like you said, with the whole number and like in the back, the creators use that number in the back of an episode.
So,
it like they're listening to the audience because you're right. There was less of a separation before it. Like this is a brand new type of show that came out right at the edge of, well, frankly,
social media
and also of like the sitcom after this. Like there are a lot of shows that stemmed from this as like their grandfather.
Oh yeah,
I think.
I actually think shows like Parks and Rec are halfway between this and The Office.
Yeah, those
people
two
are just
shows
like
were monsters. Yeah,
and they're like, oh no, this show's just like The Office. I'm like, no, if you pay attention to the humor in it, the background gags,
the long-term gags,
like
it's Arrested Development.
It's Arrested Development. Like it's a combination of those two feelings. You know what I mean? But they both have their basis in this like pseudo documentary style kind of feel, whereas Arrested Development didn't have the asides, you know, like the confessionals, but it had clear references to the fact that this family, like, this is a reality show. Yeah. Right? Yeah. This family is being followed around by cameras. They have reference footage. They're putting something together. This guy's narrating it for a reason. And there's thorough episodes where, like, there's even an episode where somebody gets mic'd up. I think it's the same episode with the Japanese investors where Job gets mic'd up. He ends up in a room with a bunch of people and be like, it's because then they get like that feedback, like, you know, and like, who's mic'd up? And then it just like it shows like the boom mic come into camera and pull back out, and they're just like, that is a hilarious reference because people know watching the show like this is like a reality show / documentary. Yeah. And this like brings them back to like all of this is happening. Like this is a real family, and we're following that. You know, like, this is a special situation. It's a whole thing. No,
you're right. I think a lot of shows. Okay, most people know of The Office, and like that became the show of like a generation that like defined that time period. But I think most comedy writers and comedians know of Arrested Development.
Oh, yes.
And then so it was the mix of the two to create Modern Family and Parks and Rec. Yeah. And
or Always Sunny.
Always
Sunny, Sorry. Always Sunny is just something different.
You take that, like, this is required reading.
Yes.
From this time period.
You're like, you want to write for TV right now? Yeah. Here is like 3 seasons of this, a couple of seasons of this, and some seasons of this.
But none of those solid comedies started on any platform other than network television. Yeah, and there's no other comedy really. There's no other comedy to follow all of those that's like started on any platform other than network television. I don't feel like.
But I also think network television doesn't want to take absolute risks on anything anymore. Because they're like, absolute risks are being taken on like Netflix and Hulu and all that kind of stuff.
For sure. Whereas they have the money to. Network television doesn't have the money to take risks.
This was risky.
That was very risky.
Arrested Development was very risky.
It was very risky. But they had time. They had the money and they had the time.
And it's only a half an hour.
It's only half
an
hour.
You throw away a half an hour when you're...
I mean, shows like this...
What network did this premiere on? Fox?
It was on Fox, yeah. But shows like this, Seinfeld, The X-Files, The Simpsons, if based on how they cancel shows now or let shows go on, all of those shows, if they were put out now, would never exist because after 3 episodes, they had shitty ratings. They would have just been canceled.
The other problem too is like, you know, you look at the idea of recreating all of these old shows like the X-Files or whatever, or even Arrested Development, where you're pulling in these actors that since the time of the X-Files or since the time of Arrested Development, like they require so much more money, like you know, than ever before, and it's hard to maintain that. Like you know what I mean? Like redoing the X-Files was
a bullshit
an
move.
insane amount of money.
Season 10 was garbage. Season 11 wasn't actually that bad.
I didn't.
But my biggest problem is with not just with TV but with movies as well, is that because networks and producers and all that kind of stuff don't want to take risks anymore, they're not putting out new content. It's remakes.
It's all remakes, yeah.
Sequels and
which
reimaginings.
Is in itself risky though, because it's so expensive.
But the thing is they make money based on nostalgia. You know, they
for
make
sure.
Like people are gonna.
But
watch...
it's not gonna be long term. So it's like a short term sort of.
No,
like...
I agree with you, but people are gonna watch the shit out of the new Disney Aladdin and Lion King movie.
But they won't be able to make a sequel. Or maybe they will, but
they
probably
will.
You know, I don't know. It won't do well.
But
I guarantee
no matter
what, those are gonna do fantastic.
Yeah, people are going to go to the theater.
No, but like
just because of what it is.
They're not gonna do
sequels.
But they've done sequels of the animated versions, you know.
Yeah, but those are the animated versions. Yeah. Those are like
animations, like, and I know you guys threw like BoJack Horseman in there and stuff. It's like that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah,
like a whole nother topic, and it sells differently. It's easier in some ways to pull off, and even when you lose a character and throw a new voice in, it's almost easier to like just like glaze over versus like the X-Files. It's like, well, if you lose Mulder, like, you know, like the show does not go on.
What are you talking about? They did that for 2 whole seasons. Like, I don't understand.
Of the new season?
No, of the original series.
Yes, but then it
at the end of season 7, Mulder gets kidnapped by aliens. Okay.
Yes.
He disappears for a season, almost a full season.
But I'm talking
then he's
like
half-assed in it
remakes.
for like a half a season.
It's really hard to do that during a remake of the X-Files. Like, you can't just be like season 1 of the remake of X-Files and Mulder disappears.
No, but my problem is like they shouldn't be making more X-Files. That's what I'm saying.
You don't want more X-Files?
I'm not look.
You
know
you want more
You
X-Files.
know I'm
You're
obsessed
lying
with X-Files.
on this podcast.
But what I'm saying is that I am getting really tired of seeing the same thing over and over and over again.
What do you want to see, Tracy?
I want to see there are creatives out there writing shows, have ideas. Do something else. I don't care what it is. Just do something else.
You're over it.
So what did you think of when Arrested Development's picked up by Netflix then?
I was interested in it, and like I said, I watched the season 4. I actually joined Netflix to watch season 4 of Arrested Development. Yeah. And then I was thoroughly disappointed.
Yeah.
And then it was one of those things where the month elapsed, and I was like, I guess I'll just watch something else now. You know, like it was one of those things.
Yeah. I am purely on Netflix for true crime and documentaries.
Really?
And the Yule log.
What is the Yule? Oh, the fireplace thing? As you know, I pay for cable, and I get that year round if I want to. So
I also do year round.
Yeah.
For $10 a month.
Yeah.
What are you paying for your cable bill?
I'm gonna tell you to shut up. Because as you know, I pay for cable and Netflix.
Thank you for paying my
watch
salary.
All of the things. All of the things. Just pulling it out of the air. I watch all of the things. It's a horrible obsession.
I love The Fireplace on Netflix. I won't deny. Love I have for it. It's really messed with my algorithms because I watch it so much in the winter.
I don't think Netflix understands me.
Wait,
it doesn't.
Sorry, it messes with your algorithm. What is it suggesting beside
okay?
What is something if you like this burning log for 2 hours? You'll like what?
The fire documentary.
Just because of the word fire?
Yes, it's all algorithms, man. That was like
Fire
my number one.
documentary.
Netflix was like advertising that to me like every 5 seconds.
Okay, well that's an amazing.
Wait, the last time I talked to you, you were talking about what the Outlaw King or whatever, and you're like, I watched the thing with Chris Pine and his dick.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're like, that's the only thing that advertised me for a month.
It did.
Like,
There was. I mean, we didn't talk about that for a while. That was a while ago. That was like November.
Yeah. Yes, that is very
That's
true.
the last
yeah.
time I saw his dick.
So now it's advertising just things. That was everything about like fire now. Is what you're saying.
Well, because it's been the whole winter since then, Tracy. It's been like minus 40 degrees outside, so I've been watching the fireplace channel.
Just to be warm.
Just to
like,
be warm. So
warm,
like
yeah.
I'm getting dinner ready, I have the fireplace on, I read a book by the fire.
What the hell are you talking about? it's a screen. It's not giving off actual heat.
What they actually say, like if you watch
Don't
that,
ruin my comfort.
it's like a placebo. You actually do
you
feel
do.
warm when
oh
you
my
watch
god,
it.
you do. It gets too hot. I gotta take my layers off.
You high? What are you talking about?
It's true. I am not
crazy.
Okay, I just have to say, I think my phone is listening to us because I have a trailer for Charlize Theron's new movie has popped up here. So whatevs, guys. It's
Can I also
fine.
bring up that you're right with Arrested Development being on Netflix, it did get darker. Mm-hmm. That whole talk about Chris Pine's penis reminded me in the 4th season of Arrested Development.
Oh,
we see Job's penis. And
Do we actually?
I don't remember that.
He sticks his dick out of a rock, like a
Iraq or
no,
a
like,
rock.
he was stuck in. We see him sticking out of a rock, like he was doing a illusion to emerge from a tomb during Easter, and he got stuck in it because he couldn't get out because someone was blocked something or whatever.
Yeah.
They found a hole in it. And then he stuck his dick out of the hole to try to tell people, like, I'm here.
I'm here. Okay.
For some reason, he couldn't stick out his finger or whatever. And that was actually in an episode. You could see it.
I do not remember that.
Oh,
now
go watch
I
that.
have
Which
to rewatch
episode?
it. Oh my god.
Well, we don't know it's him. We don't see it
Which
like, like I'm sticking
episode?
it out. You just, like, see a penis sticking out of this hole.
That's hilarious. Okay, gotcha.
That didn't warm me up. What?
Does seeing a picture of a pizza make you, like, full?
It makes you hungry. That's what
That
it
doesn't
does.
warm me up.
What the hell are you talking about?
Am
all
I
right.
the only
I mean,
Yes. Yes,
I
you are
have
the
to admit, I think we took a deep dive into Arrested Development.
It ended
Let's just wrap this up.
penises.
Tell you the truth, I have now recorded 3.5 hours of audio of
good.
this.
Yeah.
So I don't know what kind of time it's gonna take me to edit this.
I hope you're a
but
good editor.
I really hope so too.
Well, when you edit it, do you watch like TV? Does it Scrubs playing in the background?
Well, I usually have, like, yes, yes. Actually, usually it's some sort of Star Trek episode.
That's fair.
But I have the headphones on, and I just see things moving in my eye, like a little peripheral. If it's something good, I like take it off, pause that, and I'm like, and then get back to it.
Down to work.
So maybe that's why it takes me so long to like edit some of these things.
Well, it's also you record people for 3 hours. That's a lot of editing.
Okay, this is the longest I've ever recorded for any episode.
Shut it up.
FYI.
Shut this down.
FYI. This is
Also,
all
just cut me out of all of it.
your fault, guys.
Yeah, that's
all
fair.
of your
That's
fault. But, you know, it was awesome having you guys here. And he's just making a lot of noise, getting some cinnamon hearts. It's fine. But I want to say, wait, okay. I know I asked this already, but is there any one last thing you guys want to say? Real quick.
I blew myself.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I like it.
That's all I got.
Julian.
What? No, I'm good with that. How could I top that?
I don't know. I just want to say, come on! That's all I got. That's all I got.
Oh.
What is it? Cuckoo!
No, hot Have you guys never seen a chicken?
There's the ones where like 4 of them are doing it together, and it's just like, oh my god, what is wrong with you?
Because they kept that going from season 1 to
on,
season
yeah.
3.
Yeah.
That was just ridiculous.
It was hilarious. It's just hilarious.
On the next season of Arrested Development. I don't know. I didn't watch season 4.
You should watch it. See Job's dick.
Fine. I'm not doing anything this weekend.
There you go. Well, anyways, thank you so much, Jamie and Julian, for being here and doing this.
You're welcome.
This was
You're welcome.
absolutely awesome. Thank you for putting up with my nerdity, and I guess thank me for putting up with your nerdity.
That's fair.
I just want to
What the hell?
Thank you.
I just want to take some praise for some of this. That's all I'm saying.
That's fair. You deserve a lot.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take it. So I don't even know where I'm going with this. Anyways, we'll have to have you guys back for something. Unfortunately, I can't do Seinfeld with you guys, but we'll find something else that you love, and we'll just sit down and talk about it and have ridiculous conversations or something. It'll be amazing. Until next time, join me. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at ohmyshelf, or you can send me emails at ohmyshelf@gmail.com. On the next episode of Off My Shelf, we'll be talking about the Austin Powers trilogy. Hope you'll be here to listen.